he would see like a half-eaten Twinkie that was on the top of the garbage and he would eat it. But it's like Diddy and baby oil, it's hard to quit.
I'm putting on my boots. They're hiking boots, and I'm going to tell you a little story.
There's a lot of like different body parts in your face that you weren't sure belonged to who.
I have never in my life ever once, one single time, asked for a raise.
I was like yelling at him. I'm like, you've never worked in food and you fucking bought a food place.
I just want to be completely alone in my own world, in my own head.
That's the very first step in your plan. Inseminate.
Yeah.
And then ask questions later.
What if they put like Kool-Aid on my eyeballs while I'm sleeping?
Live from an insane asylum, it's the Socially Awkwards Podcast. I am Matt Elangelo, and he is Branatello, and we are the socially awkward, crime-fighting, middle-aged mutant ninja turtles. Welcome to the pod. Today is part 2 of our episode about social situations. Mo situations, mo problems, and we are just the socially awkward types to solve them. Branatello, are you ready to get socially awkward again?
Yeah, I can't wait. I just love social situations, all kinds, odd ones.
Imagine if you had a lisp. How much would you love it then?
I'd love it more. Yeah.
Would
Public
you?
speaking
okay.
with a lisp would be great. That'd be a good experience. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Let's talk about public speaking for a second, because it's actually not on our list here, I don't think, and I would like to discuss it for a second, because that is actually probably one of the most socially awkward situations that people could be in, right? And so I'm wondering if you've got any. I mean, we've talked a little bit about it before, more so with music, but do you have any actually public speaking things that you've had to do in public where you felt socially awkward?
I think it mostly relates to music.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're expected to say a few things, or you have downtime between songs, and yeah, I mean, public speaking is commonly cited as the thing people fear more than death, right? Famously.
Yeah.
And
I'd rather
but I
die than
haven't.
speak in front of these people.
Yeah, or I'd rather die and do a few other things, which I'll explain probably later as we talk about this stuff. But
Excellent.
I have not specifically gone up to publicly speak in front of people in the typical way that you'd think, like a crowd of people, like a TED Talk, or the way a politician does.
What about a flash mob? You ever been a part of a flash mob?
Yeah, where they dance and do cartwheels like in the middle of the mall, and everybody is just trying to shop.
Is that what it is? You mean I didn't have to take my pants and my boxers off? I was at the wrong flash mob, I think.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have showed John Gotti my goods, but I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well. Yeah. Weird. Yeah, public speaking, I mainly just remember, well, I mean, obviously I did kind of do that with the comedy and the roasts a little bit, but I mainly remember it from school. But I feel like in school I didn't care as much. I care more about it. I feel like I care more about it now, or it'd give me more anxiety now than it would in school. But in school, I feel like I just didn't care. And obviously it made a difference when you were in a group talking to the whole class, or if you were just by yourself. But, other than that one time when Michael Jackson visited my school and those couple of people came up missing, there wasn't really any kind of weird situations as far as public speaking.
Michael Jackson. That was grade school, I presume?
You presume correctly, yeah. If the jokes are correct, you presume correctly. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm just probably trying to put 2 and 9-year-olds together here. What was the largest crowd you've ever spoken in front of?
It would probably be at the roasts. Well, I don't know. A classroom, probably had, in my school, it was probably like, no, you know what? I will say this, because I did talk about my Salute to Seinfeld skit that we did. Now, granted, that was me and 3 other friends playing characters. And so I guess that's not really public speaking. It's more like doing a little play in front of them. But that was 2 classrooms. So that was probably at least 50 people. But I might have had close to at least 50 people at the roast too. So I'm not sure. But
well, that's a pretty big roast. For some reason, I was under the impression that maybe there was less people than 50. 'Cause you didn't have
Yeah.
that many employees necessarily, right,
No,
at
we just
the
had a lot of friends, and then obviously I had a lot of friends come over, that weren't, that weren't in the roast, or sorry, that didn't work with us and that weren't involved in the roast. And then obviously the people that worked there, and then their spouses, and then their gumars. What does they say in Italian? Their gumar? I think it's gumar, where they have their sidekick, their side bitch. So they bring their side bitch or their side dick, whatever they want to call it, over. And, so we had a lot of that, which also had like a Jerry Springer situation because there was a bunch of people there with multiple um, significant others that really caused a stir. But yeah, it was good. I liked it. And but that was my own environment, right? That was my house, so it was probably a lot easier. So I probably could have done it in front of 100 people at my house. I don't know what number it would have been
Yeah.
where I would have been like, "Oh, I don't care that this is my own house anymore. That's a lot of people." But
So you sorta had c home court advantage in that situation,
yeah, and I would
and you
say at
knew
school
everybody.
too. I mean, once you go to a school long enough, I think you're okay with that environment. You're at school what, like every day for like, so what, like 7, 8 hours a day. And, after a while, you get used to that environment too, and you get more comfortable in it. And then, knowing your classmates and all that does help. It's easier for you to talk in front of them. But
Yeah. I've heard that one of the secrets to public speaking is that you don't try to speak to everybody at once. That the secret is to pick one person and pretend like you're speaking directly to that person. Because then that sort of psychological one-on-one contact you're trying to do with that person ends up sort of infecting everybody and they all feel like they're getting spoken to. Do you feel like you had any sense of that, like maybe during the roast? Or were you just kind of, or did you not really think about those tactics and you kind of just went natural and you knew everybody, so you were feeling good about it?
first roast, I don't know if you're going to get this reference. I don't know how many people are going to, but he's a comedian and he's passed away now. My first roast, I did more of like a Mitch Hedberg thing. And he was a comedian that had trouble on stage, so he'd always wear sunglasses. And so people really couldn't see where his eyes were going. So I did that because I knew a lot of my material was on paper. I was going to be having my head down a lot, reading the material into the mic. But at the same time, I don't think they knew. But as I kept going, I did get better at looking up and, like, kinda surveying the room as I'm telling a joke. Or I guess well, it was actually outside that we did it, so surveying the area outside, and I think I became more comfortable with that, and I think that that's with anybody. I think that you find tips and tricks. Like, when I was in school, it was always, like, the, the weird janitor that I'd always be like, "Okay, there he is." I'd only found out later that he
Yeah.
died like 40 years earlier, but I would focus on him and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm telling my story to this evil ghost." And he ended up becoming like I think he was like some kind of weird killer in people's dreams, because he was doing bad things to kids. The parents like burned him up, and he caught on fire and died. And then he said, "I'll get your children in their dreams," and then that happened. So I don't think that's any. I think that if anything, they should make a movie about something like that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, completely original,
Yeah.
um, unheard of. I thought you were gonna go a different direction and say that he looked like Matt Damon a little bit, and, he
Are we
used to
talking about
just,
like the talented
he used
Mr. Ripley, or oh no, no,
he
you're
used to
talking
just,
about Goodwill
he
Hunting.
used to walk by the physics or the mathematic classroom and just see half-written equations on the chalkboard
Yeah.
board and, finish them.
No, the janitor that we had was, like, more like he would see, like, a half-eaten Twinkie that was on the top of the garbage, and he would eat it. He'd pick it out of there and eat it. So, I don't
Yeah.
know if he was of Matt Damon quality, and I if he was as good as Will Hunting at those kind of
That
things.
sounds like the butler from Richie Rich, or the portly guy who was, like, in the sciencey area, maybe not the
Yeah,
butler. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
It's a obscure kids
Yeah,
movie,
well, I
90s
was also
reference.
gonna say it also sounds like a George Costanza thing because I remember a Seinfeld episode where he picked a piece of chocolate out of trash and, like, his girlfriend saw it, and they made a big deal out of it, and it's kinda funny.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about emergency situations, and we're talking more about social situations. We had such a fun time last week about talking about all the stuff that we wanted to talk about. We want to talk about more of this stuff, and I want to talk about like any kind of emergency situations, like how you are in those situations, or if you've even had to deal with too many of those. For me, I haven't dealt with a lot of those. We did have a house fire when I was 11, and in that event, I don't really think I was freaking out or anything. Didn't I don't think I grasped how big of a deal it was at the time because I was only 11 years old. Now, when my mom died from cancer, I was the one to discover her, and I feel like that situation is a little different because that was more recent. But I felt more relief for her than pain for me because of what she was going through. But honestly, the biggest social situational thing about that was navigating the paperwork and the funeral process, or getting navigating all that, and these people calling you and wanting money, and it's crazy how when somebody dies, like, these people don't give a shit. They just want, what they're financially owed and stuff, and that's the
Yeah.
way it is in America, so you have to
They
do that,
just they
so
descend down,
right,
and they perch and flap their
right.
big black wings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it was a really weird so that was probably the weirdest part about, and that was overwhelming, and to say the least, but at least I went through it, so I kinda know, like, I guess what to expect more. But as far as emergency situations, like, do you have any that you wanna talk about or that you can think of?
Well, I want to talk maybe just really briefly, more topically,
Okay.
on emergency situations, because we're talking about, you know, social situations,
Mhm.
and maybe the anxiety, the socially awkwardness aspect of it. So I find that emergency situations are one of the better situations that let me try to phrase this in the right way, but
Like, less
um
panic?
less panic, I become more clear, more focused, and less in my head. Um, and generally, I think I do well in emergency situations. And I think that is because, yeah, there's something that is calming about it in terms of like the internal chatter that you normally get when you have this like social anxiety. So, I've been in situations with people that have been with me. I wasn't driving, but I can think of like maybe an accident I've been in where immediately after the accident, I don't slip into a state of panic. I would slip into a state of just like a clear, focused way of communicating with people and understanding what needs to happen next in the situation.
Yeah.
So, there's an aspect of that that I'm proud of, but then I think there's also a lesson in there about, and you don't want to take it too far to a degree that's not healthy, but I think there's a lesson in there about living in the moment and getting out of your head. In situations that are not emergencies, right?
Right.
So there's something about that I think that can be learned and taken into other situations, that like, let's say you're at the bar, or you're in a group of like 5 people and you only know one of them. Um, like getting out of your head and treating it as like an emergency, maybe in a healthy way. Like I'm saying, I think there's a bad way too, because I can hear myself saying this.
Right. Is that it?
That was it.
That was a weird way to end. Alright, sorry, I just wasn't expecting. Yeah, I think it is weird. I think that, like, what you're also describing is the fact that, like, you have less control over certain situations when they're an emergency type, like, but in a way that gives you more control, I guess? Like, it's kinda weird. Like, you're expecting the unexpected, where in real life, you really kind of not expecting the unexpected. So, it is different, and, with, little fender benders and stuff like that, I'm not too bad. I've been in a couple of fender benders, and it was always like it'd always be, like, where I would be driving, and then they would, like, pull out and hit me, and then they'd be like, "You came out of nowhere," and I was like, "What? Wait a minute. I was just driving down the road, and, like, you pulled out. Like, what do you mean I came out of nowhere?" So, it was, like, a lot of those situations, and I know that, like, being in those situations, there are a lot of people who are really nice at first, but then when you call them later, like, if you don't involve the police for whatever reason, if they're just a small fender bender, and then it's like, it's totally, like, your fault. It's like the mood changes and you're like, "Dude, wow." So, it is weird, but, um, how about stress? Let's talk about stress a little bit, because stress is It's different. It's kind of the same situation. I handle stress differently. I obviously smoke. I'm a smoker, and for a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, I feel so much better when I smoke a cigarette when I have stress." But in reality, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's what nicotine is doing for you. I don't think it's calming you down in any way. It's actually supposed to raise your heartbeat a little bit and all this other stuff. So it's just a calming mechanism that we use, and it's so addictive that we just say that that's what it's doing. But I desperately like to quit, but it's like Diddy and baby oil, it's hard to quit.
Slippery?
Yeah, it's a little slippery. It's really a tough thing to stop, but and the thing with stress is I think that it manifests as like it can manifest as physical aches and pain and mental issues, and for everybody it's different. And a lot of people could have health problems and not even realize that it's because of stress that's causing them. And I don't think up until recently, I don't think doctors and in just people in general took that as serious as they should, thinking that stress was actually that bad on your body. But I do smoke marijuana, which allows me to kind of like not only be happy, but just to like calm down and stop my thoughts from wandering. I don't know if alcohol does the same for people. I've heard different things, but my thoughts want you to know that I was high when I wrote this. I have this down here on my notepad, and apparently my thoughts at that time wanted me to let you know during the podcast that I was high when I wrote this. So, um,
Important.
yeah, it's very important. But what do you got to say about stress and social situations and things like that?
I think that stress is, it can be fun. It's a fun time. Stress, here's the funny thing about stress is that stress and anxiety, like there's also a very close relationship, but I also see them as different as well because I know we're not talking specifically about this aspect, but it's something I do want to bring up where and you could tell me how you think, but the anxiety I see it as like a blanket that is like you have that underlie that like underlies everything, if that's the right way to say it. And stress is more of a momentary thing or like you can have stress for the entire day or week, but stress seems like I relate it as more being event based, whereas anxiety is more um like a
Internal?
baseline,
Yeah.
maybe internal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that could
It's
be a
more
way to
like
say it.
I think most anxiety, like what you're saying, I think, sorry, let me see if this is correct, but I think what you're saying is that stress is really a lot of it's dependent on things that you can't control, where anxiety is actually your mind telling you you can't control, but it's more internal. It's like anxiety is because of your own worries that if you could control them, it would be a little bit easier. But I think that's
Yeah.
what you're trying to say, but I didn't say it any better. So,
Well, and then there's a blurred line between, for example, if I'm sitting there at night and I'm thinking about my future and I'm stressed out, is that anxiety or is that stress? Because it's a little bit now the line is blurred. Is because I'm causing it on myself. You could say there's the external factor is the externality of the future version of myself, but but I think you could also just say it's completely internal in nature and not really caused by anything external. So, um, so I do see a difference there, but thinking about stress specifically, there are ways because there's like I'm thinking of coping mechanisms or the actual effects that it has on me and what I do,
yeah.
and so those are the things that I feel like that are maybe worth talking about. But I think they also relate to anxiety as well, and that's why I brought that up. But for me, it looks like snacking. It looks like not sleeping very well and that's included with things like having a really late bedtime. I generally see I have a thing where once I go to bed, I can sleep for a block of time that is healthy, but I usually don't get that block of time because I often I'll go to bed so late that it's like I have to be up by a certain time to do something I'm obligated, whether it's work or something else. And so now I'm in a situation where I'm not getting the hours of sleep that I need, but that's caused by usually a combination of stress and anxiety. And it also looks at like things like procrastination. And then the procrastination leads to things like media consumption, entertainment. and probably slipping into like video games or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of when I think of stress and like the ways that it manifests in my life and how I deal with it and like and the vices that come about as a result of that.
It's like I guess it's like one and the same. It's like stranxiety is what we can call it, or stranxiety or whatever.
Stress. Oh,
A-
stress, angst.
Anxiety-us?
Is that just
Anxiety-tress?
is that what angst is? This all this time when I was a
Yeah. Well, what
teenager
about
and
a
they just
mistress? Is that just a girl that causes a lot of stress?
a mistress,
Think
mistress,
about that, man.
miss
Yeah.
miss someone.
Or is
Yeah.
it just a girl who wins a competition as the most stressful person? She's like Miss Stress.
You know, let's go with that and let's put it in
Yeah.
ink and roll it to press.
It's like Miss Fortune who wins a lot of money and she's
Yeah, what's her deal, right?
yeah, but like what is her deal? I don't know. She didn't get it from penis breath. The song, not general penis breath, which might be a good pleasant odor, we don't know. Yeah. All right, let's talk about let's talk about work environment. Um because I think at first it's probably like anyone else. You know, you're just trying to find your place. Like, I think no matter what, for most people, the first, like, I don't know, week or two of work, that training, that learning process, the training and all that, that's
I
probably the
hate
most
it.
stressful. Yeah, I hate it. Like,
I
having to
yeah.
learn new shit, I'm just like, oh, God. But then once you get it and you're like so, like, good at it and comfortable with it,
It's
it's
yeah. Well,
different.
it's not
It's
the
nice.
learning. Well, you mentioned the learning, and I'm curious if that's actually a sticking point for you is the learning because in a vacuum, if you took away all the people
Yeah.
and then you were just there and you had to learn something new, you might actually reframe that into something that maybe is more
Yeah, I
enjoyable,
think you're right.
right?
Yeah. I think
And
it's just the whole process of it all. It's the
yeah,
fact that as soon as you get in there, you know the least about this job than anyone else at that job, and
yes.
it's infuriating, and you have to kind of build that up, and you have to learn, and so that's probably why I was saying that I have no problem with learning, but yeah, it's just part of the process.
Can I venture a because I have a theory about this
Venture
and I that
away, man,
I'm gonna yeah, I'm putting on my boots. They're hiking boots, and I'm gonna tell you a little
because you don't believe
story.
in cars.
You know, it's the carbon emissions really, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I try to plant trees for every step I take, and so here's my theory. Um, it's about hierarchies. It's about not wanting to enter an environment where you know without a doubt that you are at the bottom of a new hierarchy.
right.
And that's what I think for me is the core of it. When you are, you know, the first day in school, the first day of work, and really school, you could probably get to a place,
First
but
day
I
in
mean,
porn.
um, yeah, that
Yeah,
too, sure,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, but I'm thinking about the first day of work, right? And yeah, you know you're at the very bottom of the hierarchy, and there's just there's a different way that people treat the new guy, right? The guy who doesn't know
Right.
anything and isn't expected to know
There's
anything.
hazing in everything. Like,
There
hazing is
certainly
what
is,
you would say.
yeah.
Like, there's hazing for everything for a new person, no matter what it is, seems like.
Yeah, and I hate it. I don't know if it's ego or if it's just a general discomfort of some other variety, but it's one of my least favorite situations in life is to be at the bottom of a hierarchy that I could have chosen otherwise.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, when I was in porn, I didn't want to be at the bottom of the pile driver because that was a bad position. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
people on top of you. And there's a lot of like different body parts in your face that you weren't sure belonged to who. It's like playing a weird, like naked twister, but just in a weird way, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah,
Um,
and when you're done, it kind of looks like when the last person pulls the jingle block out and
yeah, 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 and it's not like you can just be like, okay, red, like hand on red, and hand on, and then you got like your leg on blue balls or whatever it
yeah.
is, and just don't play Twister with a bunch of naked people. It's a bad idea, just so you know.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk a little bit about. We're gonna stick on the work thing here. And I think that once I get more comfortable enough in that environment, I can let go and be myself. Like it's like dating too. It's like where we talked about how people are kind of not themselves when they start dating. I think that's the way with anything you start. Like you're learning it and all these other aspects are happening. So it's different. And then so you kind of learn to like you learn as you get used to or more comfortable these things, you learn to just be yourself because it's easier and it gets more comfortable to be so. And then, you have a better workflow and thing like that. But I did want to ask about asking for a raise and how that situation, like how you've had to deal with that before. We've talked about on this podcast a few times how you work from home, but you make glorious web apps, I think, or apps, I guess is the
That's a good way
best
to
way.
say it, yeah.
Yeah, just you
Yeah,
make apps,
yeah.
appetizers.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
so
keep going.
delicious that they are. I
Yeah.
mean, you make some good ones, man. Your chicken fingers are great.
You should try the blooming onion. I
I
don't wanna
will.
get ahead of myself,
And
but
the great
I've
thing
heard
is
good.
it's all digital. Like, so you just send it to me, I lick the screen, and then it tastes that way,
That's right.
and
Well,
it's
that's
just
my
a
portfolio is digitalbloom.com if you didn't know.
digital bloom. I did
Yeah,
not know. Oh,
yeah.
okay. I thought it was just the man in the hat is what I
No,
thought it
that
was.
was, that's George's caretaker.
Curious George?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out. I was like, George, okay.
I'm glad you made that connection.
Yeah, I'm glad I did too. Yeah, okay. But yeah, talk a little bit about asking for a raise.
I have never in my life ever once, one single time asked for a raise.
This is a new shocker. This is a shocker right here.
And I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's healthy to ask for a raise. I think there's a right way to do it. I think that I heard some advice, I forgot where it was, but I really loved it. And it was that you go in, you ask for the raise, you say, here's A, B, and C, here's why I think I deserve it, and here's what I'm asking for. And then if the person, because 99 times out of 100, I don't think the person is going to fire you on the spot simply because you're asking for a raise. I think that the probable worst situation is that they're going to deny you the raise. And then a really great follow-up that I heard is that you can then say, well, what would I have to do for you to justify paying me the amount that I'm asking? And
That's
what that
usually the
does,
first thing you say before they unzip their zipper.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where, and I know this is leading to another penis breath punchline, and I can't wait for it. But
Actually, it
um
wasn't, but now it is.
but yes, so it may lead to that. And if it does, call your call OSHA or whoever manages those things, I suppose.
Right. Well, the
Um
name of your band was what was it? Oh, it was 3 days below zero is what it
3 days
was.
below zero, yeah.
Yeah.
3 days below the waist is what we like to
Yeah.
call it.
That's what you. Yeah. All right.
So that's the advice. I think I got all the advice out right.
You
You
wanted,
understood.
you wanted to. So what you're saying is that you need to have those follow up questions. You can't just go in there and be like, "Hey, can I get a raise?" And they're like, "Nah." And you're like, "Okay, bye. Cool. That was a nice
Exactly. Well,
conversation."
the important part of that follow-up is that you get to the information to know why you didn't get the raise and if a raise is possible and if it's worth you fighting for it, sticking it out, or if it's a kind of situation where you need to look for another job because not only did you not get the raise, but now it's not even a possibility because you're asking what it looks like and they're sitting there saying, well, it probably looks like not you, because we don't have the position, we don't have the fund, or we just don't like you that much, which I hope
Yeah.
they don't say, but they could.
Right. Yeah,
And so you can
they
move on.
keep that internal. They keep those internal thoughts to themselves. But yeah, they'll
Yeah.
be you got to stick it out while they stick it out and then you got to touch it.
The touch the paycheck they're going to
Yeah, the
send you.
paycheck that they give
Yeah.
you, which is
Big and fat.
yeah, it's a big fat paycheck. That's what you want. That's what you want to earn, that big fat paycheck. Um
Lots of zeros.
yeah. Yeah, cuz you guys made quite a bit of money on that penis breath song, but then I think that you guys blew most of it. Um
We
Who
blew
did you
it?
blow it on?
Um,
Or did they who blew it?
where do I go? Where do I go with this?
Who blew it?
We blew the money on canned artichokes um those what's it, the uncooked lau mein. You know, you get them in bags.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, like oh, you mean like the whole college, the ramen noodle kind of thing.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's mostly food based. I don't know why, but there you go.
Well, who cares, man? Well, I think you got stock in ramen noodle is what you did, and then that
Yeah.
went down after there was some things
Plus,
coming out not so positive about ramen noodles,
yeah.
and but
Well, they
either
weren't
way,
maximizing shareholder value within the company, and
I'll
I
tell you
just don't.
what, man. That's it was just a great song. I mean, you talked. I mean, you talked about penis breath, but you also talked about other things too. It wasn't just about penis breath. You talked about moldy vaginas, things like that, and that was. I thought that was like really inspirational for the people who had to deal with that,
Yeah,
and yeah,
it's important to have an open mind.
yeah. Are you saying unopened or an opened mind?
Uh,
An open mind.
I would say an unzipped mind is important.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
important. Yeah, and a lot of work. All right, let's talk about meeting friends, or especially we'll talk about how definitely it was easier when we were younger, but we'll also talk about it a little bit now.
Wait,
Um,
real quick,
oh,
if
go
you
ahead.
mind
Yeah,
if I cut you off real quick, because I was
I
actually
do mind.
curious if you okay, well, since you mind,
Yeah,
did you ever ask for a raise? Did you say you did?
I did. Yeah, I got comfortable enough to ask for raises. Sometimes they would say no, and I'd be like, all right, well, I guess I guess I just don't feel. Like, I would actually do this thing where I'd be like, "Well, I'll just go find another job," but I never would. So I would just use it as a
Was that
negotiating tactic.
internally, or would you say that?
I would say that.
You'd
Um,
say, "Oh, I'm gonna find another job."
Once
And they
I
go, "Well,
get
fine, good
comfortable
luck."
enough with the bosses, I think it's okay. I've had a few times where they're like, "Yeah, well, I'll give you a raise." Other times they'll it was never about my work. It was always about, well, we're not making enough money right now. I've got to fix this or fix that. So it was more like either excuses or whatever it was. But I think I've
Yeah.
told the story where when I worked at the Philadelphia steak shop, the guy that ended up buying it, because I worked under two different owners, but the guy that ended up buying it from the first owner I worked under, he never ever worked in food. And I remember like being on the phone finding that out, like when I was talking to him one time, and I was like yelling at him. I'm like, "You've never worked in food and you fucking bought a food place. Like but and I remember getting off the phone and my other two, like the other two part of the stakeout mafia that I call them, my friends Scott and Ed, they were like, "Dude, did you just make him cry?" Because they were listening to that, and I was like, "I don't know, man. I was just like saying it was kind of dumb." And I guess I didn't realize how I guess I was being kind of mean, but he didn't fire me because whatever. But I was, that was bothered me. I was like, I don't know why you buy a place and you've never actually don't even know how it runs or have never seen one
Do
run
you know?
before.
Did you ever get like why he did buy it? Did you
He
get
thought
to
it
the
was going to be
bottom
a
of that?
retirement. It was going to be like his retirement, and he
Run
just didn't
itself?
understand that it wasn't going to be that way. He thought it was going to be this nice little thing that he would let us three operate and he would just make the money on the side. And he realized he told me multiple times that he regretted buying that place, multiple times.
Hmm.
And so,
But to be fair, I remember because you had talked about this story briefly before, and you
mhm,
said that the former owner maybe had misrepresented some of
yeah.
the pitfalls and the
He
blind
told us
spots
not
in the
to
company.
say anything that was wrong. And I think when I was talked about this before, I said at the time we agreed because we respected her, but then obviously afterwards we realized how stupid that was because we were going to be the same three working there. All we were doing was fucking ourselves over. Well,
Yeah.
obviously the new owner a little bit too, but we were also fucking ourselves over a lot, and yeah, that didn't work out too well. But yeah, I got a raise a couple of times, and I asked for one, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Every time you asked for those raises, did you feel like you deserved it, or did you?
No,
And I know that.
usually I just wanted more money. I did. I did. No, there are times where I felt like I deserved it, but I think it was more on a universal scale. It wasn't because I felt like I think there were times where I went in there and I heard what other people were making in other restaurant businesses, not particularly in ours. And I'd be like, well, I feel like I should be making more then. And that was my sole basis for a raise. But then there were other times where like, well, hey, I'm doing this now that I didn't do before. I'm doing this now that I didn't do before. I feel like I should get some more money. And, they'd be like, okay. Or sometimes they
So
would not.
sometimes it sounds like you might have asked for a raise, even just out of principle. Like, how often would you do it? Would you say like once a year on average you
Usually
tried to?
every 3 hours.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then that explains the maybe if you got a lot of no's.
Yeah. No,
Um,
no, no. It was probably like once a year at the least amount. Yeah.
so even if you were like, even if you were coasting along, you were like, all right, I'm making, I kind of my budget works. I guess that I get right now and the things I spend my money on. But it's been a year. I don't necessarily have a bunch of more responsibilities, but I think it would be fair for me to ask for a raise, given that it's been a year and
Yeah.
inflation happens, between 2 and
Yeah.
7%, depending on when you're doing this, especially if it's during COVID. Um, but yeah, so I think that's interesting is still going in there and advocating for yourself, even just out of principle, because, and I think that is important because that's something that I think I can learn from because I don't ask for raises enough. I've been lucky to work at some jobs where people have independently just recognized that I might have been deserving of a raise and they offered me something that was, I think at the time I felt was very generous. But, there's probably more opportunities on the table that I bet more people have where people aren't asking for raises as often as they could be or as they should be.
And I think that's probably how I'm sure a boss would love to not have to deal with that. Some bosses have their own bosses. Obviously, my boss was the owner, so it's a little bit different. But, depending on where you work, that's going to be different too. If you're just going to go to your manager, the manager's got to get an okay from whoever his boss is, whether it's a regional manager or the owner or whatever. And so it can be difficult for them. And I think they probably prefer not to hear that kind of stuff. But I will say this, there was one time where I got $1.50 extra raise. And before the $1.50 raise, I was getting some type of medical insurance, probably Medicaid or something like that. And I was I was able to get help for things because I had that. Well, as soon as I got that $1.50 raise, all of that was gone. And I did the math and I was actually making less now because I
Mhm.
wasn't getting that extra help. And I think that that was an issue for a while where people ran into it. Might not be so much anymore because people don't really adhere to the federal minimum wage because when Burger King or McDonald's is paying 18 to $20 an hour for somebody to come in the federal minimum wage, I think is still 7.75 or something like that. It's not that big of a deal. Back in like 2005, 2010, there was still people who were like, "Oh, just hire him in at minimum wage." And you're like, "Really?" You're like, the same job gets like at that time it was probably like maybe 10, 11, $12, which so there was a big jump there with the wages and things, but I think it is doing better in that aspect to where people don't have to worry about getting a minimum wage. Even though most states are getting up. We're in Michigan, I think ours just went up to like 13 something, but most places you start at are going to pay you more than that. So I think that that's good too. But yeah, so there was times where it was actually detrimental to get a raise because then you weren't getting those other government perks or whatever you want to call them to
Yeah,
help you out. So just interesting.
there it
Um,
is.
all right, well let's talk about meeting friends, um, which is different than eating friends, which we'll probably talk about on our Jeffrey Dahmer episode. But high school was probably one of those things where it's just like anything else where at first, that's the whole bottom of the totem pole thing that we're talking about or whatever it is. And what you don't get though in high school is you don't realize that everybody's going through that in high school. It's different than when you start a job because obviously those people went through it, but they're not going through it with you. But in high school, everybody's pretty much going through it, even though some might have a little bit higher level of social status depending on who they are, how popular they are, if they play sports or whatever it is. But in high school, it was probably hard at first to make friends, but then it got easier as I got more comfortable, like anything else, where I could have my humor and my funny situations and my wit kind of take over for me, and it was much easier. That's how I made a lot of my friends, um, doing that. But now it's hard. Like, I don't know what 2 40-something-year-old people do to make friends besides, like, what the normal thing, like, I think we talked about before was, like, go to a bar or, maybe a coffee shop. I don't know what it is. How do you make friends? Like, a lot of things are so online based now that it's hard to do it that way. And now you have different variations of friends, right? Because like 30 years ago, it was like, yeah, I have friends. But now it's like, well, I've got friends that I see in real life, and I've got my friends on my Call of Duty board, and I've got friends on my Roblox, and I've got friends on my Minecraft, and so you're like, okay, wow. And then I've got my friends on Facebook. I got my friends on X. I got my friends on TikTok. So it's all fucking different. And so it is really a weird world. But tell us about your social, because you just recently met a bunch of friends, right?
Yeah, the, uh from that one TV show,
Right.
it
Yeah.
was,
Seinfeld.
yeah. Yeah, Seinfeld,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and they're a great bunch of people, but,
Yeah.
lots of
They
secrets.
play like they're really horrible on TV, but they're actually pretty much the same. But it's a lot better when you're not like you're a part of it and not
Yeah.
like one of their victims. Right.
There you go, and you're exactly right, Matt. I think that
Did I win
I
a
friends do
prize?
get
What was that?
friends do get separated. Well,
Yeah.
listen, friends do get separated into categories, and that is the problem as you become an adult and you get older.
Yeah.
Uh, because I started writing this down as you were listing it off, because I was thinking about you do have work friends, you have maybe what I would call family friends too. You have your gaming friends, and then even friends are still they get relegated to usually some sort of slot like vocational friend, right? Like based on because you have a shared hobby. Maybe you guys go golfing together, maybe you go bowling, maybe you or maybe it is a video game that you're playing together.
Right.
So um
You get friends
so
in
yeah,
low places too.
yeah, low places, high places, middle places,
Yeah.
you know.
All kinds of places, really.
Yeah, those are the three places I've
They
listed
are.
them.
There might
And
be others.
yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So why is it harder to make friends as you get older? Um, and this is the question that I'm asking, and I'm also thinking about it right now.
Oh, I got you.
Um, yeah. So, because before I toss it over, there was a thought that I had about friendship. Oh yeah, it was that when I was younger, because you had gone through your history of friendship a little bit, and I think that I would classify as my ability to make friends is not necessarily great. But I think it's a little bit different than how it sounds when I say that, because I think that anybody that I've wanted to be friends with, that I then attempted to be friends with, I usually was able to be friends with.
Yeah.
So what does it mean when you say you have a hard time making friends? Because I think that there is something internal as well, where it's like I have a hard time wanting to make friends sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I can sit alone at night and be like, I wish I had friends. But then I see people and my mind is like, well, I don't really need to be, I don't need to make a friend with that particular person.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to be a people hater, but
Right.
do you identify with any of that where you're like, because if you really think about the times you wanted to be friends with somebody and then you actually tried, I bet you were actually successful most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is a part of you that it's like, well, I want to be friends with people, but it's got to be on my terms. And that's not fair, usually, to the other person. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we can be friends, but, let's only hang out when I want to fucking hang out. Like, I don't, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But, but yeah, in the sense that as you do get older, you tend to, I think, reflect more on yourself. And I think that a lot of people are probably more negative about themselves as they get older. And so that also is going to be kind of in the way of making friends. But otherwise, I'll usually just go up to somebody like in an alley and I'll point a gun at them and be like, hey, we're friends now. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And,
Yeah.
and that's
I call
usually
those
how I,
I call those fear friends.
yeah. That's how
Yeah.
I get a fear boner. I love fear. That sounded
Borner?
weird. Fear boner. A fear boner. Yeah. That's how you get a fear boner. If you're a fan of the show The League, I don't know why it's so hard to say that word together, but if you've ever seen the show The League, you'll know what I'm talking about, and that's oh, you know about Eskimo friends?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so are you friends with any people that you've all slept with the same person?
I want to say no, but I
Yeah, it's
can't.
kind of weird. Like
But I can't say no. Yeah.
they make it sound like there are times where I've read about it and they make it sound like it's such a cool thing, and it's like, well, I don't want to know. Like, especially if you were with that person, like the girl or whatever, right then, and you're like, hey, here's all my ex boyfriends. They all want to be friends, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
But it happens, and love is love, and it abounds,
And they come out of the
and it's
room
all
and they're like,
around.
hey, smell my finger.
Um, yeah, that might be a unique situation for you, but
Yeah, usually is. That was her name,
yeah,
Unique.
that's nice.
Yeah, it was a nice, weird stripper name.
A thought that I had about friendship
Yeah.
is that I think this is easy to overlook, but maintenance of friendship
Oh
is
yeah.
is I think is even harder than making a friend.
Yeah.
Because maintaining a friendship means that you're reaching out to that person and you're not letting there are friends that I have that are like forever friends where you could let months go by and then you get into contact and it's like you can pick up a conversation as if time hadn't passed.
Yeah.
But the reality is that time did pass and you are going months without seeing that person. Um and I think there is some sort of like atrophy that does happen in the background, right? Like you guys trust each other, but you don't allot time in your schedule for each other. You don't have a habit of hanging out. You could hang out if you wanted to, but it seems like neither one of you really does. And so this is where there is a magic in maintaining a good friendship. And it's not always easy, especially for people maybe like you or I, and I'll speak for myself, but I can be pretty introverted at times to the point where um sometimes it's bad because you're like, "Oh, man, I'm alone tonight, um, and I'm just, like, cooped up in my room, and I have my anxieties and my depression and all this kinda stuff you might be dealing with." But there's also times legitimately where I'm like, "I don't want to do anything tonight." Like, tonight is I wanna be by myself, I don't wanna talk on the phone, I don't wanna text. I just wanna be completely alone in my own world, in my own head, or whatever creative thing I'm doing. Um, and I have to be careful because that can consume me to the point where it is detrimental to my life.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think it can hurt the friendships that I'm trying to build around me and the friendships of the people that I actually care about. So yeah, this is a part of friendship too that I can find it can be difficult at times. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're bringing up a good point because you're talking about maintenance and you're talking about maintaining a friendship. And I think that that's probably huge. As you get older, you have trouble maintaining yourself, right? Like you feel like you know more of the real world. You know the hardships. You know what you got to do to survive. So you're already worried about that, and now you've got to worry about like social cues between your friend and like if this is a good friendship, if it's a bad friendship. So it is really interesting um, yeah, and it gets so hard, it gets so difficult to do that, and if you can't maintain yourself, then what makes you think you're gonna be able to maintain any type of relationship, whether it's friendship or, being in a relationship that involves love or whatever. But, but I will say this, it's a lot easier to just have pretend imaginary friends, I feel like.
Pretends.
Yeah, pretends.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
too much like depends, like the old we're back to the old diapers again for the old people.
You know, I have a new word. I'm gonna call it the having a pretendship.
Ooh, a
It's my new
pretendship.
word.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah, that is good one,
yeah.
that is good, yeah. And that could be like what is that exactly? Is that an imaginary friend, or is that actually a friend that you just don't know where you're at with? Like, you're in the early stages of friendship, so you're like, "Well, this is kind of still a pretend ship, I don't really know where it's going."
I think that is a better thing because
Yeah.
I think you get these a lot at like work. You're at work and you're friendly with somebody.
Yeah.
Pretendship could also be more insidious. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want, like my boss. I'm gonna be in a little pretendship with my boss, maybe go on those golfing outings
Right.
and, try to
Right.
secure that,
Try to be a
try
little
to secure that raise.
devious. Yeah.
Yeah. It's better to be out on the golf course than on your knees under a, palm tree serving drinks,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Totally. Um, all right. Well, let's talk about flirting because I'm gonna tell, and it's more about like whether or not, because I'm curious with this with you because I feel like there's been a lot of times where a woman has been talking with me, and then usually it'll be around another woman that I know or something, and then afterwards that woman or maybe even another dude, they'll be like, "Yo, that girl was flirting with you," and I'm like, I don't fucking know." Like, I just don't pick up on the social cues. I just don't pick up on the signs, and I'm just wondering if you've like, how you are with that. Are you good at picking up signs when like, if somebody's flirting, or are you not?
I don't know that I'm good at it. I think that I've had the same situation happen to me, and I think because here's the thing that people, especially for the socially anxious out there, that I think you worry about. And let me paint a picture here, because if you take it as flirting, um, you don't want to be the guy where somebody smiles and is really nice and touches your arm while they talk to you, and then you take it as flirting, and then she looks at you and she's like, Why is it that every guy I smile to has to take it the wrong
Yeah.
way?"
And I've had that situation where I thought where I've been in a situation where I thought they were flirting, and they've done enough to where after a while I got the nerve up to be like, "Hey, like, you maybe you want to go out or sometime," and then it was like, "No." And you're like, "Oh, well, I guess." So then it just fucks you up even more. You're like, "Well, I clearly don't know
Yeah.
when anybody's flirting."
Yeah. So what I've learned from that is that what classifies as flirting is more about the person classifying it than it is about even what they're seeing sometimes. I think that a woman saying next to you going, "Hey, she was flirting with you." I've had girlfriends, right, where you're at the like maybe you're at a restaurant or maybe you're somewhere out and some other girl talks to you and they will be like she was flirting with you or she was into you,
Right.
right? And
Right.
she's sensing this, she's picking it up. And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that they can pick those things up, but I think also sometimes they're projecting because they like you.
Right.
And so it's really easy to project that another girl's going to like you as well.
Yeah.
But in my experience it's just
That's when
not
you get like a mud
necessarily like
pool.
that.
You get a pool of mud and get them in there, and you'd be like,
And
"Whoever
just duke them
wins."
out. Yeah. That's
Whoever wins, I'm
well, baby
sleeping with
oil.
both of you. That's what you say.
How do you make mud? What's the
It's like
ingredients?
water and
Keep going. Well, you know what? Let's
dirt.
shelve it for now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Hold
Yeah,
on
I
now.
got it, man. Yeah, man. That was a question on
Yeah.
Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah, I'm realizing that there's levels to this intelligence thing now.
Yeah, there are. There are
Yeah.
different levels. There are definitely different
Yeah.
levels. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you.
So
There are, like, when you're with somebody, and not to mention that I do think there's work-based flirting. Like, if you're talking about like a waitress or something, I think that a lot of them have kind of bake that into their coding, right? Like, they're kind of in there, like, doing that for their job to get those extra tips or whatever. So I think that's also a part of it. But yeah, I agree with
yeah.
you. Like, there are times when you're with your girlfriend or whatever, and she's like, "Hey, that person was flirting with you," and then I'm in the background writing it down because I usually follow you guys, and then I write a book. I'm writing a book about it, and I have to say, it's wonderful. It's a great tale about a cat who eats lasagnas and hates Mondays. So it's gonna be great.
Okay. Is there a dog involved by any chance?
Dog. Yeah, there is actually. There is a dog, and he's named after Heath Ledger. His name's OD. I mean Odie. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Um yeah. So
Pretty good nod
yeah,
to the
everybody likes
Joker.
lasagna too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if I've actually legitimately met anybody that doesn't like lasagna, which I think is very suspicious for lasagna and interesting. It might be something,
I think you're right. As
yeah.
I've gotten older, I've eaten so much lasagna in my life that as I've gotten older, I don't like it as much as I used to, but I still like it. But
Do you make your own lasagna, or have you?
the person, it was one of those things. It was one of those things where when my mom was still around, like when she made it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this. But no, I don't think I've ever once made my own lasagna. I don't like to make complicated things. I like to make real. I'm like one of your like a guy. Okay, if I'm by myself and I'm just making food, then why the fuck do I care? What am I going to eat a lasagna in 2 weeks? Like, I feel like it'd just be like a lot, like, I don't know. Now, if I was making food for other people, I'd probably appreciate it more like I was, but
You're more of a button pusher chef kind
yeah,
of guy.
yeah, more like a just add water
Um,
chef.
just add water and let it sit.
Yeah.
You're one of those like cold oatmeal in the morning guys.
Oh,
Have you seen that?
yeah, I'm not
Where
that
people will
bad.
take like
No.
oatmeal and they put the stuff in it and they let it sit overnight, and then in the morning it's ready to eat and it's just kind of like cold. Maybe you put it in the fridge. I don't know what you do
I
with
don't
it,
know.
but
That's gross. I don't want to do
yeah,
that.
that's a step too
Just get
far.
quick oats. Like
Yeah,
quick oats, it literally takes a minute to cook those oats. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not that hard.
yeah,
And
and it's in the
oatmeal
name.
by the way, can we just talk about how oatmeal is like both delicious and gross at the same time? Because it's like one of the weirdest things to look at, like porridge or something, but it's
Yeah.
probably more, it's, decently healthy for you. But it's like one of those things when you eat it and you look at it, you're like, oh God, why am I eating this kind of thing?
Have you ever over sugared your oatmeal and just said screw it and ate it anyway? And you had like this oatmeal sugar belly for like a couple hours
Yeah,
afterwards?
I have. I know what you mean. And it's
Okay.
bad enough because it changes
Not
the more sugar you put in, it changes the texture. And then my thought's always like, "Oh, I'm going to pour in a little bit more milk to help this out." And then it never balances out
it
completely how you
it
want it.
doesn't.
No.
Once you do it, you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah, now
once
you
you
have
pop,
sugary
you
oats.
can't stop.
You can't stop.
Yeah, I think that's Pringles.
Back to
But
flirting.
oh yeah.
Yeah, back to flirting. I do wanna say this, that I think that I'm very comfortable with flirting, but I have to have the very first piece of knowledge that 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 she's into it in some way.
DTF.
That she's attracted to me, she likes me. Well, sure, DTF,
Yeah.
that could be a way to say it, but, some sort of indication that she's interested in some sort of small way, or that she's open
Right.
to it. And then once I understand that that seal is broken and I'm not crossing some sort of, like, boundary there, especially in, like, a work environment, it's like I really need to see something there. Then I'm very comfortable and I enjoy flirting, and I think it's a lot of fun, so it's a great part of,
Yeah.
relationship, and a great part of some pretenships too, if we're being
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, it would be. I actually think that I would flirt with a lot of the older ladies that would come through the line, and obviously not
Oh, yeah.
in an intentional way to get with them, but just to have fun and have like this witty banter. And that to me was much more fun than regular flirting. But probably because you weren't expecting any outcome, you were just having fun with it, and you didn't have to worry about like denial and all that stuff. But it was fun to do that.
Yeah.
Give me an
I
old
think the
lady.
best flirting does
I don't know
What's
why I
that?
ended that like that. Go ahead. I was hoping you wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, like, I gotta get that out. No, I wanted to be quiet and make sure
Okay.
we
Yeah.
could hear that.
Yeah.
I think you stumbled on a really great point about flirting, which is that I think the best flirting happens when there is no, how did you put it? When there's no goal that you're
Yeah.
trying to get to,
Yeah. There's no
that you're
outcome
enjoying
there.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
the
it
best
makes it
flirting
way
is enjoyed in
easier.
the
I mean,
moment.
that's
Yeah,
probably with anything though, right? Like
yeah,
if you know that there's not going to be a negative outcome from what you're doing, it's way easier to do. And I think that I mean there could be a
yeah.
negative outcome. Like an old lady could like track me down and find me in my house and come in with like, a mask on her face and pin me down to a bed and have her way with me, cottage cheese thighs, things like that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Little blooming onion action.
Mm. Not so good now that you mentioned that, huh? That's not going to work well for the app. Sales are going to go down now.
All right. Not gonna get that raise this year either,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, at least not from
Yeah.
that. Um, all right. Well, this kind of goes into it with flirting as well, and it's let's talk about finding a mate, and dating. Um, and I don't know. I think It's the hardest task.
How do you do it?
What, finding a date or dating?
Yeah, how do you do it?
It's
We
hard.
should have we need to have a segment that's like, here's the breakdown,
How do you
like
do
the
it?
how-to section. Like, how do you do it? You know,
Is it
how
a
do you find
section
that
where
mate?
we literally just
Step
ask
one.
our audience how you do it, and we don't have any insight
No, it's a
whatsoever?
section where
Oh,
we purport to be the disseminators of information to the mass audience that views us
I'm usually
about
a good
the.
inseminator, but that's it.
Well, there you go. See, that's step one.
Yeah,
See, that's what I'm talking about. You
yeah.
break it down into steps.
Break it
Start with
down,
what you're
yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
and end
So
up
step one
at now
is
you got a mate.
inseminate. That's the very first step in your plan.
Yeah,
Inseminate
yeah.
and then ask questions later. I feel like this is getting a little consensually inseminate. That's better.
Okay,
Just so we know. We don't
that
want
could
any
work.
Me Too's going on. Or Me Fours, Me Sixes, Me Eights. I don't want any of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me eights. I'm more of a.
Yeah.
Keep going.
All right.
That wasn't gonna work. I had something else that wasn't
Okay.
gonna work.
You thought it over and it didn't work. Your hard drive or your RAM was
I
computing
was.
and it
I'm gonna say it.
okay.
I wanted to fit me. I wanted to fit me lovers pizza in there,
Me
and I wasn't
lovers?
sure how to do it.
Me lovers
Yeah,
pizza. I've been
yeah.
so instead of being me too, you were like, I've been me lovered pizza. And
Yeah.
that's actually a good thing.
All
It's
right.
like your lover sent you a pizza that she
Yep.
rubbed
Extra
on her
cheese.
vagina.
Well, see, that I wasn't gonna go there, but
Oh, you
I'm
don't like
glad.
that part.
I'm glad you did.
I got you. Well, that's usually
No,
the
I
ones
love it.
with
I just
anchovies or other things.
yeah,
I love women, by the
anchovies.
way. I just want to put that out there. I don't think they're all with meaty vaginas. Anyways, let's talk about this is the hardest task I've ever had. And it's funny because this is one of the things that I feel like has a different difficulty level for each person, like dating and finding a mate and things like that. For some people, I think it can be very easy. I currently know two couples who are still together after meeting in high school. You know how rare that is to still be together? My brother met his wife in high school when she was married to another person. No, that didn't make sense. No, when I say my brother met his wife in high school, I feel like I'm saying that they were already married in high school, but they weren't, obviously. But they dated in high school and then they married and they're still together. And then I have a couple of friends that also met in high school and stay together. And I think that's a rarity for the most part. But for others, I think it's a much more difficult task. And for me, I feel like it's the equivalent of like climbing Mount Everest and surviving the trip. That's how I feel. It's by far the biggest challenge that I've ever had in my entire life. And I don't know if I'll ever defeat it, but it is really a tough situation of finding that person. Um, but what do you think? And I guess I didn't really talk about dating. Dating's always hard for me too because you never know like what your status is. You know, I remember like dating a girl back in like, I don't know, like the early 2000s. And I remember like a younger person come up to me and they'd be like, "Are you FBO?" And I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And they're like, "Facebook official." And I was like, "No." Like, what do we got to be Facebook official for it to be official? So you just like, and then there's all these like different things of it's like, you know, does anybody know what it is? Like, nobody says, "Hey, are we dating?" I think people just end up being like, "Yeah, he's my boyfriend or he or she's my girlfriend or whatever." But it is kind of a weird situation. A lot of different things happening.
Yeah. What can I say on that?
I don't know.
Dating used to be about. Well, thanks. Dating used to be about. I think it used to be about your friend group and being in situations. This is what we talked about before when you become an adult and friendship becomes harder and dating becomes a little bit different, especially nowadays. This is a cliche statement, but so much stuff is online now. And
Yeah.
as an adult, a lot of dating possibilities are going to exist for you online. And you have probably,
And the
three,
sex
four,
robots are coming, right? No, sorry. The ones that they had were coming, and that was actually a malfunction. And so they're trying to stop them from coming. So the new ones will not have that issue.
that sounds like a regression. but
Well, a little bit.
I will.
They
Yeah,
weren't coming on command. They were just coming everywhere all the time. They had to be
yeah.
fixed.
Well, I mean, you ordered them, so
That is true.
uh,
Yeah.
so I think that
My room
yeah,
looked like
there's
a
dating apps,
Jackson Pollock painting. But go ahead. Just everywhere.
just a big canvas,
Splatter. Yeah, just a huge splatter of paint and stuff. I'm sorry. I keep
like
cutting you off.
reds and blacks,
Reds. Whoa.
yellows.
Yeah,
Well, have you seen
yellows.
a Jackson
Well,
Pollock? There's colors in there
well,
that
there
ought
is,
not
and
to
you are
be.
right. And yellow does happen when you eat a lot of mustard.
Oh, is that true? I heard it had to do with bananas, banana peels,
That too.
using the
Well,
banana peels.
yeah. Or you're just jaundice, and maybe you should go get that checked out. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe lay off the Tylenol maybe for a little
Right.
bit and
Right.
see if it gets better.
Yeah.
Um, that's usually what I do when my liver fails. So I think that, and that's what finding a mate looks like. There it is.
That's the way to do it. um,
Step one. What's step one again?
step
I
one
forget.
is get a sex robot. That's what it's going to be in like 10 years, I think. Might not even be that long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
But
let me say this for the sake of my conscience, because I think everybody knows these steps, right? It's like finding a mate it can be really hard, especially for people who are introverted. Step one is probably get involved in social activities. Maybe if you're lucky enough to work at a job where you're surrounded by lots of people, that's great. But if not, try to find hobbies that put you in contact with other people. Whether it's some sort of a workout class or something else you're interested in. And because I think that familiarity, it is a breeding ground for attraction and love blooming and blossoming, getting to know people. And aside from that, obviously you have dating apps and you have lots of them, so, and you can really, there's quite a bit of power in your hands to go out there and um try to have, get some decent pictures of yourself and a little profile, and and maybe see if you can find love that way. And that's really the best thing I got. I think dating is hard in the modern era, though. It's not.
it's
I
super
I don't
difficult.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever used to be. I don't want to pretend to be one of those people where I say that it was always easy all the time, because I think that there was a lot of times I tortured myself over people that that I could have dated that for some reason I didn't want to, or somebody I wanted to date and they didn't want me, or all sorts of situations. And this is what being a socially awkward introvert can look like. But um yeah, I do think it's harder nowadays, and that's the only thing that I know about it. Those are the steps that I'm currently in right now, cuz I think I'm back out there in the dating market. So
Holy
those are the
shit,
things
that's
I'm
right.
thinking.
You are. Yeah. That is crazy. So swipe right if you see Brandon and he's the kind of guy you want to get with, I guess. That's the main thing you wanted
Yeah,
to get out of this whole thing, this whole
that's right.
podcast that we've been doing for
This is
5
our
months.
last episode.
Yeah. Swipe
Case
right.
closed.
Yeah. No, we'll keep
It's been
doing
good.
episodes, I think. We'll keep All right. Let's get back to the social situations. We are going to talk about, oh boy, we're going to talk about doctor's office interactions. Let me tell you, when I go into a doctor's office, there's a lot of stress and anxiety there for me. Now, if I'm just sitting there doing a regular visit where I'm just talking about what's bothering me or visiting me, um, I think that that's difficult. But as you know, I have a procedure I have to go get done in a few days, in endoscopy, and this is I should have did this 3 months ago, but I had a little bit of a panic attack, so I didn't go to the first one. So I'm a little worried about it. So those situations I have big problems with as I get older. I feel like, because I had a surgery when I was about 14 or 15, and when I broke my arm, so they put a plate in my arm. I had another surgery, well, earlier than that. When I was younger, I had my tonsils taken out. So those are really the only two times that I had surgeries. But I think as I get older, I get more and more worried about them. Um, but other than that, I think and we talked about this before. I think the big thing is, first of all, in a doctor's office, you have limited time with the doctor to talk. So you're already like in a pressure, in like a rush. And so you're already like being anxious about that. And then it's like one of those situations where they have like the superiority, like with the knowledge they have over you. And these days, you know, the basis is close a little bit because you have the internet and you can kind of look up some of your shit. But it is kind of weird to have that situation where you're basically putting your life in their hands, which is kind of what you're doing. You're just saying, "Hey, here are my problems. What is your solution?" And I've just found that most of the time it's not the solution that you thought it would be or that you wanted. But what do you have as far as, social situations and doctors' visits and interactions?
I'm not a big fan of doctor's offices.
Right.
I feel like there's way too much there's too much waiting around. The power dynamic does not seem to be correct. There seems to be some sort of there is the superiority issue that you just touched on. There's a superiority with scheduling around, like scheduling when you can see the doctor and whether or not you're late versus when the doctor's late.
Yeah.
There seems to be there is an issue with the procedures involved with you going in and gosh, have you been into an emergency room where you tell somebody what's wrong with you and then you sit and then you go and they call your name and you go get your blood pressure and weight checked and they ask you what's wrong with you and then
Oh,
you go sit
yeah.
back down and they
Nobody's
call you into the
communicating with
room.
each other. You're telling everybody the same damn
I know.
story.
You're on and then you sit back down, you get this band on your wrist. So now you're logged into their system, which doesn't do anything because the logs seem like they should tell them what's wrong with you.
Right.
So then somebody finally comes out, they call you again. On the walk back there, they say, so what's been, they're making conversation maybe, but they're asking you what's going on with you. So you explain it. What is that, time number 3? You're walking back to this room. You sit in the room. She says, all right, well, somebody's going to be with you in a bit. Then the next person that comes in is a nurse. They talk with you. How many times has the nurse come in to talk with you and you finally got everything off your chest the way you wanted to say it? And then you found out it's not even the doctor who's going to be treating you. The nurse says, wow, that's great. I'm hearing you. And Dr. Salisbury is going to be in a minute. And then she
Oh,
leaves.
that's a
And
good
now you're in the
doctor.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, very umami. Is that the word? So then you're waiting on this guy or this woman. It could be anybody. I don't
Yeah.
want to pigeonhole anybody here.
Yeah.
Doctor comes in and now they're asking you for the 5th and final time, what's wrong with you? And I've had this happen before where I was actually irritated at the doctor.
Yeah.
And the problem is that final act of irritation
It's the most important
leads to
one.
you
Yeah.
it's the most important one.
Yeah. And
And
then
it
you might
leads
be
to the
difficult,
quality of
right?
care.
Like then you might be in a chart somewhere being like, "Oh, this guy's mad."
Then you get a mark in your chart and then there it is.
Yeah,
And
it's all
now
effed
your
up.
career as a patient is over. And that's the big beef I have with doctors and waiting and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, something that you touched on with the superiority is the opinion of the doctor, right, is like it's gold. It's like it's worth 10 times the opinion that you have over your own body. I've gone in to see doctors before where a minor case where I had strep throat and I when I was younger or maybe through my 20s and like mostly in my 20s, I had reoccurring strep throat fairly often, but not quite often enough to get my tonsils out. But I would have it like, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 times every year.
Yeah.
And
You still have your
every
tonsils?
single time I do, yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't had strep throat in like a decade,
Well, that's good.
which has
Yeah.
been
Something happened
great. I
then.
used to get
Yeah.
it all the time. Yeah, something happened, magic. It was the
I stopped
mushrooms.
sending you the mail in the mail. Like all those mail things that you were getting that you thought were anthrax were really just strep throat germs.
I thought it was baking powder. I've been making muffins with
Yeah,
those.
sorry about that. Well, you've been making strep throat muffins,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I've been giving them out because I'm not a
Oh.
muffin guy anymore.
Well, that was
so maybe that
my
was the
goal
deal.
was to make everybody have strep
Okay.
throat so I could take over the world. All right, go ahead.
Sure. Back to the doctors. Superiority,
Yeah.
right? The superiority of opinion. And so I'm talking about the strep throat case. And it was an example of a younger doctor that came in and that told me that they said, well, there's some new data out that shows that it's actually better to not have antibiotics for strep throat because the body ends up fighting it off on average 1 or 2 days longer. And and then you don't have to go through a course of antibiotics. But for myself, I just don't. I don't believe that. I just didn't find this to be true. And my own brother had strep throat, and he had it untreated, so long that it had spread to organs in his body, and had and the surface of his skin was showing these like red spots everywhere, because that's because strep throat can turn into this other thing. I forget the name of it, but it can physically present itself on the surface of your body. So now it's progressing to a serious phase. So um, that was just an example. And in that case, I advocated for myself. I said, no, I understand what you're saying, but I really I need antibiotics because it's going to get worse. I'm not going to be able to eat for like 5 days straight, and it's going to be better. You know, you give me antibiotics, I'll be able to eat in like 24 hours from now. I'll already start feeling good enough to be able to eat, you know. So um but I have had doctors in other situations have more of a disregard or put less weight on the opinion that I had on something, simply because I had done research on the matter.
Yeah.
And
I don't
I
think they
understand there
like
was a
that.
time
Yeah, I don't think they
they
like
hate
that.
it.
Yeah.
They hate it. And you know what? These doctors themselves, I know they're I'm saying there's something weird. I got a bellyache and I feel nauseous on
Right.
Sundays, and you know, I'm giving them the symptoms.
Just
They're
on
going back into their
Sundays.
little rooms.
Yeah.
They're going back. Yeah, they're going back into their little rooms.
Right.
And maybe Saturday night I should lay off the canned artichokes.
Right, right.
And so the doctors are going back into their little rooms, and I know they're just pulling up Google and ChatGPT anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like you're sitting in there. All you are is just a human being that you went through school and you have your experience, but you're not cut from a cloth that makes you that makes your opinion like leagues ahead of mine. Your opinion is just very valuable, but it's not an immediate trump of mine over my own experiences and what's going on with my own body. So that's my situation with doctors. And yeah, I do have a certain anxiety of going to doctors because of that. Because I've had situations where I felt like I wasn't able to get the words out in the way I wanted to get them out, and the doctor just didn't hold what I was saying as valuable enough, you know. And I used to struggle with like going to the bathroom, like I was like constipated all the time. And constantly I would have these doctors tell me things like, get more fiber in your diet and drink more water. And it's like, if it was that simple, like, would I just be constipated for like 20 years? Or is there something, you know, it's like, can you just take my word for it that there's something deper going on, you know? So,
Right. They're
that's
looking at
just
it as
one
a
very
short-term
personal
thing,
example.
and you're trying to tell them that it's been longer than just like a few days, and they always want to try
Yeah.
the the simplest thing first or whatever.
And I understand because it's like it's a shotgun to the flock of birds approach.
Right.
It's like you're just trying to hit. It's like and it works for probably 80% of people who come into the doctor. They're constipated. I'm sure that getting a bit of exercise and drinking more water and
Right.
getting more fiber in their diet does lead to better bowel movements. But when somebody's advocating for themselves, I hope that doctors out there can discern the difference and listen to that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
we're getting to
I
a
mean, what's
point
your experience
where
been like?
AI is going to be much more helpful and informational than a doctor will.
I can't wait for AI to take the jobs of doctors and lawyers, because I think this will also, it will, what's the word when you equalize something across classes? Or maybe I'll just say it that way, but I
Yeah.
think it'll be an equalizer, because I think there is a class division in the quality of representation you get from your doctors
Right.
and from a
But I
lawyer.
don't think it's
I
going
know
to
that if I
change,
have,
man. I think that, first of all, I think that there's enough lobbyists within the health industry that they're going to do everything they can to make sure that that doesn't happen, that AI doesn't take over for them. So they're going to fight. And then there's a lot of politicians who have money in in the health industry. So they're going to fight too. And then what it's going to come down to is that if you want like the actual good shit that AI is going to help you with, because they've already come out with studies that AI was doing better at predicting or with diagnoses and things like that than people were. And so it's
yeah,
already there. So it's only going to get better. But I think it's still going to be for the rich and elite. I still think it's going to be, oh, you can afford this. So it's going to be those people. I think eventually we will get there. Once we reach singularity or whatever, it's going to be, like I said, there's not going to be any jobs for anybody. And then we're getting into a whole another situation. But I do think that,
yeah,
yeah,
Matt, I think you might be right. but I really hope you're not. And I'm hopeful that there can be a future where hopefully energy and this is the positive side of capitalism, is that enough companies want to compete in the AI race that
Yeah.
hopefully it's a race to the bottom in terms of price and opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we do get AI. Of course, there are things like regulations and things like that people at the top can use as a divider, right? So like AI could be everybody might have AI and AI could be there for everybody, but people at the top could use things like laws and regulation to keep people at the bottom from having access to high quality medical
Yeah.
AI that's able to give us a prescription.
They can make
That
anything a
would be
class
better.
war, I think, and that's the problem. Like, there's always things that happen where when AI officially come out, it was like the talk was, "Hey, this help like um get the gap closer. It helps like kind of bring in that gap." But
Yeah.
then it just becomes, everybody finds a way to make some kind of class warfare out of everything, so it's kind of rough. I will say that doing a procedure, having surgery or something like that, it's probably the most helpless you can be in another person's hands. And that's scary to a lot of people. It's scary to me. I'm sure it's scary to you. Like, it's like, oh, you just got to give me the stuff and I won't even know what's going on and you can do whatever the hell you want to my body. And not only that, but if anything happens, there's nobody else in the room that would advocate for me saying that it was your fault because all of you are a team and you work for a hospital or whatever that has a huge legal team or whatever. So a lot of it, and then you sign waivers and you're like, oh, and nobody ever reads those because if you read those, you're just going to freak out more. You're going to be like, wait, what is this part where if an alligator eats me, like what the hell is that? So you've got like all this weird shit that you're signing, and it's just the most vulnerable you can be as a human being is when you're like in their care and it's all up to them. And if these people are thinking like I do on a daily basis, God help us all because it's just like, you only hope that they're at a
Yeah.
much more mature level of maturity where they can be like, okay, and or but then I always think of like, oh, there's like where we talked about before, where there's a doctor in there and he's farting. He's like, oh, yeah, sorry guys, I ate some canned artichokes, as you would say, and I'm doing I'm having
Right.
a little gas, and I don't know if I can, And then they have a laugh and they're like, oh, all right, let's open the guy's mouth and you fart in his mouth. You don't know what's happening. You don't know, and that's very, very scary to people, and that's a part that I don't like either.
Yeah, it's not good. Or heaven forbid you go in for open heart surgery and you leave and there's a junior mint inside your cavity somewhere.
Right, right. Or you end up with a closed
And
heart and you don't love anybody. You're like, well, you gave me open heart and I came back out hating everybody. I don't think that's good at all.
yeah,
I don't
that's
welcome
serious stuff.
anybody in, and that's sad.
I had this like borderline manipulative thing. Not manipulative, that's a strong word, but I'm going to say it anyway. And you're going to understand what I mean.
Right.
If I go in for surgery or something that I got to get put under for,
Yeah.
then I feel like I have to try to make at least the minimal amount of genuine human connection with the person that's going to be doing work on me. Like I at least want them to feel bad for
Do you
me,
even
or
meet them
like I
though?
want them to. I have well, I went in for a thing similar that you talked about, but an endo. What's how do you pronounce it? Because I pronounced it
I
wrong when I
think
said it.
it should be pronounced.
Scopy.
Okay, first of all, it's colonoscopy, correct? So I actually think I always thought, well, it should be pronounced endoscopy, in my opinion, because it's saying the same way. But then I asked the doctor, and she was like, "No, it's endoscopy," and I'm like, "Well, I don't like the way that
It
rolls. It
sounds
doesn't
like a
roll off
kid
the
was like
tongue."
scope.
Yeah,
Like we're gonna use a scope on you, Mister.
right,
It's a
right.
scopy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does sound very
Uh,
weird like that. Yeah.
but endoscopy doesn't just mean your colon though, because is that what you
Well, no, they call it an upper endoscopy, and I think
Oh,
it's
that's right.
all an
I was missing
endoscopy. I
words.
think a colonoscopy is still an endoscopy, but most people just say colonoscopy because it's because then it differs from the mouth to the anus, and you don't want them using the same. Like I know people that go in there at the same time for both of them, and then my anxious mind would be like, well, wait a minute, like are you using like the same? Like, do you know which one goes in the ass and which one goes in the mouth, kind of thing?
Yeah. Endoscopy. Isn't it funny that in the medical field with all these precise terms for everything, there's a term that can just be used for either end? It's like,
Yeah.
It's one of your ends are getting scoped. It's
Right.
called an endoscopy. And
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. And I'm sure it's not good. It's a gradient. It's somewhere on the spectrum of bad to okay.
That's usually how the spectrum is. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it is weird, but yeah. So you talk to your doctor, is what you're saying, before you had that done, and you like to have a like kind of get like on a human level connection for a minute, or at least a second, to kind of make
Well,
it.
I just
Does
want
that make
two
you feel better?
yeah. It does. I just want 2 seconds to say I'm scared, doc.
Oh,
I'm
I got
scared.
you. And so that way
A
they can kind of
and then you
reassure
go
you.
yeah, because I feel like you don't wanna lose a patient who's scared that you're gonna lose them.
Right.
Like a doctor, because then it talks to their ego. It's like he was scared I was gonna lose him,
Or it's like the
and
guy
and
who's doing his first endoscopy ever, and he's like, "Oh shit, he's scared. I'm scared." And then it just,
yeah,
I mean, you could have a
you
reverse
can't.
reaction to that too, but
Yeah, now you got 2 scared. It's not good when you got 2 scared guys out there fumbling around.
yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add about I mean, we covered a lot there, but yeah, they do have a lot of power over us, and it does kind of bug me. And but do you have anything else to add or subtract,
No, I'm good to move on.
multiply, divide? All right.
Subdivides. I like to do a square root, a logarithmic square root, really. You can continue. This isn't going anywhere.
I asked for my square rootage on ancestry.com, and my computer blew up. Didn't know what the fuck I was saying. Anyways, let's talk about performances and presentations. We've kind of gone over a lot of this already. In fact, everything I'm going to mention, I've already mentioned, so I don't want to bore too many people. Let's just go. I'll go through mine really quick, and then you can tell me, because I know a lot of it is probably stuff you've already mentioned with performing music and stuff like that. But obviously, I had 2 roast performances. I've never performed music in front of people. And then obviously in school, like I performed my 5-minute act in front of my ninth grade class. I think I talked about that last week. I also wrote a Salute to Seinfeld skit in the same year that Seinfeld ended in 1998, performed that with 3 of my friends in front of other classes. Those are basically the only performance or presentations that I've had. And I've kind of described them before. My roast performance, my first one, was probably the biggest one, where I did smoke a little weed with a friend, and I realized that probably wasn't the best idea with already being so anxious. And then I do remember having to, like, I went in my room, and I was staying in this downstairs area, and I went in the basement into my room, and I remember being like feeling nauseated. And so I had to put like my whole head in front of a fan and put the fan on like full blast and just kind of talk myself and be like, it's fine, it's fine. And that actually worked. And then within, like I said, I think within once you get that first laugh in that situation, because it was a comedy roast, it made things a lot easier. But yeah, and you've kind of talked about your performances, but is there anything else that you want to add as far as, being in those kind of situations musically, and,
Yeah,
with your penis breath song and your, the 3 days
yeah, I
below
appreciate you.
zero?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Performances, presentations. Yeah, for me, it's musical performances. Um, I played in bands where we played shows, and I always had a hard time separating. When I perform, the best thing that I can do is focus on the quality of the song and try to make it sound as good as possible. But there is a performance aspect that I think a good artist should also focus on, and I historically was never that great at it. I was always just trying to serve the music, and I think that comes from, since it's relevant to what we're talking about, that comes probably from some sort of social anxiety
Yeah.
where I don't know, it's like, how am I going to be a showman? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to make jokes? Am I going to dance around a bunch? Am I going to make a really big spectacle? We got flames going off, strobe lights, laser beams hitting people in the eyes. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, for me, it's been mostly focusing on the music is usually the best way that I found to get through it. But it's always a nerve-wracking experience to play a show,
Well, and there are those bands
for
out
me.
there that like their whole thing is the spectacle, right? And I can't name any of them off the top of my head. Maybe you could, I'm not sure. But there are ones out there that'll literally like just beat the shit out of the guitar at the end of For they do certain things, or I mean, I guess we could talk about Kiss. Maybe Kiss is a band where they would wear the makeup and do all that stuff, so they'd be a little bit more into the performance. But like you said, I think probably the best way to approach it is to just focus on the music, right? And just make sure you're doing all that, and everything else will come in time. And so it is interesting that there are kind of two different
Yeah,
ways.
and there might be oddly something that transfers, right, from that idea over to other situations where, like, as you said, you're like, just focus on the music. Um, I don't want to get too deep and philosophical about that, but I think that can make sense, just focus on the music.
Well, yeah. Um, you have to think about that because I'm sure in like writing is the same. I think that like you're trying to remember the lyrics in when you're in when you're performing, you're trying to remember, and you specifically, like anytime in any music that I did, it was just more of like a rapping perspective, so I didn't have to worry about musical instruments. So you have extra stuff to worry about, and then also you have to think about all the things that rhyme with penis breath. I don't know.
Okay, well, let me try, fetus death.
Oh, wait, fetus?
Um,
Fetus death?
yeah, I'm just spitballing
Yeah,
here,
fetus death. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Um,
that's it. That's the end of my list.
that's the only rhyme I think that you have in the song, actually. Um, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great song though. It's really
It's
just
just 10 bars of that over and
yeah,
over.
yeah, it's a lot of yeah. You know what I like though? I like the cowbell solo. It's so good. It's like just a great like what is it, like 4 minutes long? And it's just this wonderful artistry of cowbell. I don't know who did it in the band, but it was wonderful, and I don't think I ever said that to you. I didn't
Well,
think
we wanted to emulate an experience like you close your eyes and you're drifting off into space and you imagine that there's a binary star system that you're floating betwixt the stars as they scintillate against the eyelids and different thoughts bubble up.
yeah,
Um,
that's incredible.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's deep and
Yeah. And
complex. I like that. Yeah.
yeah, and the cowbells are just
Yeah.
they're just bang, bang.
And I mean, really, the whole song. I mean, people may say penis breath, penis breath. Why does this guys keep talking about penis breath? In reality, it's like you have to hear the song to understand what the true meaning is, man. It's like it's a metaphor and a simile all in one. And it's just this anecdotal stuff that you talk about that just makes it so real. And it really just gets to the grasp of like youth violence and the way the world is, and hunger and famine, and which are the same thing. I don't know why I said that. But all these, and war and pestilence and all this stuff, and you just get it all into two words: penis breath. And once you hear that song and you feel those lyrics going through your body, you're gonna
And,
people
bug
are
squash.
yeah, butt
Yeah, you forgot
squash.
bug squash? Bug
Oh,
squash.
bug squash. Sorry, I went to butt
Yeah,
squash. Yeah. All right.
yeah,
All right.
there's a lot of bug squash in the world that people don't talk
All
about.
right. Um, all right. Well, n- after talking about penis breath, it's a good time to start talking about church. Um, and I want to say that I've only been to church like maybe 3 or 4 times in my life. A couple times with my family, and then when I got older, I went with a couple of friends a couple of times to their church because they said, "Come check it out." They were actually telling me, "Hey, you want to meet a girl? Come to church," and it didn't work out like they thought it was going to. Um, nowadays I have other issues with church, and going to church is actually like trying to find a doctor, right? Like it's one of those things where you kind of have to like find the right one, which kind of sucks. It's like you wish you could like everything was kind of universal in that way. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I would, if like even when I was at church, it's not like I interacted with people that were also there. And there weren't people coming up to me. I do know that it's like in that setting, it's probably more of a friendlier atmosphere, and people will be like friendlier with you. Probably way different than they are in real life. Um, but I don't know. I just don't think I would be myself. I think it'd be hard, like unless I went there like a lot and then became more comfortable with the environment and the people around me. But I have a relationship with religion, and I like to keep that relationship on a private level. I deal with it in my own way. I'm a big believer that I don't think you have to go to church to, be a religious person or whatever. But I haven't really had too many social encounters with it. I don't know how you were, but when I was younger as a kid, we didn't go as a family a lot. Knowing your mom, I feel like you guys would have, but maybe you didn't because I don't know if she was always that adamant about going to church, but how was it or what are your church experiences?
I mostly have good church experiences. I went to church sometimes growing up.
Now, I'm talking
On my
about
father's
church, not
side.
church's chicken.
Well, that's too bad. Okay, well, let me change my thought
Okay,
process here.
okay.
So, uh, going to church, I did when I was growing up. A few times I went to, there was a Catholic church that my father would bring me to on Sundays. I
Okay.
used to see him on the weekends and we would go to church, but I was very young and that was a more of a, that that was less of an emotional experience and more of a at that age, it was very much a spectacle and kind of, it's like you're in this building, the architecture is unlike anything you're used to, and the people and the pews and the ornate kind of decorations everywhere,
So are you
was
Catholic
interesting.
or are you like Lutheran? Which we all
I
know
wouldn't
is the
describe
religion
myself.
of Lex Luthor, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I haven't shaved my head yet, but
Gotcha.
darn that
You
Superman,
haven't Jesse
So,
Eisenberged yourself yet?
yeah.
Alright.
So, I'm not either of those things.
Okay.
But I'm just describing the churches I've been
I
to.
got
So
you, I got you.
I've been
Sorry, I just
I've
yeah.
been to that church growing up, then I went to church. I think maybe when I was a teenager, I would probably join my family for church uh during certain like Easter and
Yeah.
maybe around Christmas, like notable situations. I think Easter is a really, really popular one.
Yeah.
And then there was a time that I did get into going to church when I lived out a while back. I moved to California for a little while and I got into going to church out there. And that was a situation where I did meet a girl. I didn't meet her at church, but church seemed to have some close involvement in our relationship. And so that's a little bit of like the meet a girl at church story,
Right.
if that counts.
Was she as freaky as
Um
they say they are?
I don't know about that, but you know what? She was at that point in my time, she was the love of my life at one point in my time.
She was just what
Um
you
eh,
needed, right?
she was, I don't know if she's what I needed, but she was what I got, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
important.
Okay.
And
What a great way to
no, but she was very nice and I loved her and I thought I was going to marry her.
Mm,
That didn't work out though. And at that point in time, I was actually pretty involved with that church because I would play music because I've always been a musician, but I got involved with the music at that church. And I think church is like what is it like? It's like your favorite. It's like a pizza
it's like a
place, right?
casino. Oh,
And
yeah, up here. Okay.
when it's like a pizza place, and when there's a pizza place just around the corner that is really good, that always makes good pizza, you'll eat it all the time, and it's like, and it's really great. It's comforting, and it can be really great, but sometimes it can be bad too. And
It
I
sounds
don't want
like
to get
you're
preachy about it.
describing, like, sex to, like, your 13-year-old, like, son or something.
Yeah.
Like
When the church opens up, um, there's the idol inside,
right.
and if you get lucky enough to reach it,
Yeah.
some people only get to peek at it, the first time they're there. But yeah. So I don't know where I'm going with that. What's my relationship with church right now? Yeah, I haven't been to church in a little while. I would go to church, but I'm just not. I don't have a strong church going relationship. I believe in
Yeah.
God.
Right.
Um, but my church relationship is more complicated.
Yeah. I hear you.
So, real quickly,
Mhm.
because I don't want to gloss over this, but I think it's important to connect that to the social situation aspect of church,
Mhm.
because there is a social situation there. There's lots of people there, lots of strangers, maybe, depending on the size of the church and how often you go. And I have found it to be a tricky spot because I do wonder how much of it do you feel like being yourself? Because I think most people are slightly more crass and they're a little bit more, they make off-color jokes and they act in certain ways that it's like you're not sure if if church is a right fit. But at the same time, I think that a good church should have plenty of authenticity, and it shouldn't be made up of people that are merely there, presenting a 100% fake versions of themselves, a version of themselves, right? So you want to be authentic and be like, you want to be good, you want to be your best self, but you don't want to be your fake self necessarily. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Does that
It's
do you
it's a
you know that feeling like you go to church?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I would
Sorry,
be
yeah,
like, I feel like everybody would be some type of fake self, but I don't think it's necessarily, like you said, a bad thing. And I also think that, um, like it's weird because when you read about like things or you read about like some crazy thing that happened between somebody or maybe it was like a serial killer and it's always like and he went to church. And you're like, I don't know why you have to say that part, like you just scaring like the hell out of people. Like the
yeah,
fact is like just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a good person. I think that there are people out there that think that that's all they have to do to be a good person, which is kind of screwed up, but I don't think I think that's very minimal. um but yeah, I think that you're kind of fake. I would say that most people kind of are because it's a different, like I don't know, like how are people going to respond if you're like, oh fucking a, fucking a guy, that was like a great sermon today or whatever you're saying, and people are like, whoa, that guy's like really in your face, but in reality, it's like it's just so I think you gotta put on, like, a little bit of a persona, which is why I was kind of upset when, like, my friends were telling me, they're like, "Oh, you wanna meet a girl? Come meet her at church." And it's like, well, that's like the whole bar thing. To me, it's no different. It's like they're gonna be different than who they really are, I think. Now, are there authentic people in there? Definitely. I'm sure there are, but I think a lot of people do
yeah,
put on some kinda facade. It's
yeah.
crazy like that. Um all right, let's talk about introductions and breaking the ice and trying to be funny and maybe like pickup lines on girls or something. Um, First of all, you got any good pickup lines that you've ever used or anything or were they pretty like not that great? Or you just waited until they came to you?
Yeah, I just, I like the "How much is a polar bear weigh?" That's a
Enough to break the
classic.
yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you stick your hand out. How you doing?
Yeah.
Um, no, I'm not big on on pickup lines, but I think that enough people don't rely on like the really classic, like "Hey, how you doing?" Sound like Joey from
Yeah,
Friends.
a little bit, right.
How you doing?
Yeah. How you doing? Yeah.
I think there's basic introductions that can work really well,
Like
where you introduce yourself,
and just like
you say that you find.
so you don't need like an icebreaker is what you're saying. Just kind of like
Yeah, I
a
think you don't need an icebreaker.
right.
I think it's fun to enter, to break the ice with something that sounds like the middle of a conversation. I think can be really fun.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, like, sure, go-to lines, not really. No, I think that I'm not great at it, but every time I've tried to do it, it's usually gone well. So
Right.
when I say I'm not great at it, it's mostly a motivational thing. It's like I'm not great at wanting to go and break the ice. That's the actual issue.
Yeah.
But as far as doing it, I think I understand that having some amount of authenticity and being straightforward seems to work really well. So
Well, my
that's what I have to
first
say about it.
girlfriend died because I broke the ice, but I probably should have not did it when we were on a lake, a frozen lake, and that was wrong on my end. But I like to use things
Yeah.
like, "Damn, girl, you shitting that thing?"
Yeah, yeah, that was your last wife?
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
that too?
Or like, I like to say things like, "Oh, like, how would you like to be a single mother? Because I can make that happen."
Mm,
Yeah, I like to do things like that.
yeah. Yeah, that's a
A
good
good
one.
one is like, "Are you a beaver? Cause damn."
Mhm.
That's a good one. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but I do like one, which I mean, all of these I'm sure are all have been done before, but, um, I do like one that I saw on one of my favorite shows, Modern Family, and it was like, "Do you believe in love at first sight, or do you want me to walk in again?" I like that one. Um, that one's kinda funny in a way. Or does this rag smell like chloroform to you? That's a good one. Um, or you can just give them things to talk about, like, hey, a pineapple is neither pine nor apple. What do you think about that? And then they're like, whoa,
See, I like going in with statements,
right,
right? Like, I like going in with pull my finger. You know what I mean?
That's a
Just boom.
yeah. That's almost like a
Yeah.
forceful do you ever notice how that's like a forceful demand? Like, it's not even like a happy question, like, "Will you pull my finger?" It's,
Is that
"No,
why I got in trouble that one
pull
time?
my finger." Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got in
And
trouble
had to go
because
door
it
to
wasn't
door.
actually your finger, but either way,
Yeah.
you had
Well,
to
they
come up with
wanted
the
the raise.
inspiration for the penis
They
breath
wa they
song.
wanted, if dollar an hour extra, it doesn't come free.
Right. Yeah, nobody comes free anymore. Um, yeah, so do you have, yeah, I mean, any other thoughts? Like, I mean, because that's really the uncomfortable part, because that's the part where you're still not even really being yourself. Because what other situation in your life are you like trying to find ways to like get this person's attention? Because you really don't care any other time with anybody, you're like whatever. So
Yeah.
you're much more at a comfortable pace and you can just talk about normal things.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even know what the phrase "be yourself" even means because you are, in some sense, you are always yourself.
Right. Yeah, it
And
is
there it
kind of a
is.
cliche. I mean, I do get it. Like, it's like, well, what do you mean? Be myself from 1995, be myself from
There
2000,
you
be
go.
myself from yesterday. There are a million different versions of me.
And if you pretend to be somebody, then you are the person pretending to be somebody.
Yeah.
So that is still what you do. Therefore, it is who you are in some
So
sense.
for everybody out there that does like role play for Valentine's Day, just remember, you're being yourself. Yeah. No matter what. All right. Here's a fun one. Law enforcement interactions. And I know in the last episode you talked about an interaction where you had the cop that was watching you guys play while he was masturbating or whatever it was. And then he ended up signing you to a record label, which was awesome. But
Yeah.
do you have any law enforcement interactions that were awkward or any type of social situations like that? Or for the most part have they been all pretty amicable type situations?
I've had mostly positive interactions. I've had
That's because you're white.
a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm all white, and he could sense that.
Yeah.
And
I'm all white with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so there was a dark night. I was walking along the side of the road.
The
A
Dark
friend and I
Knight?
actually.
Batman? You were with
A
Batman again?
Dark night. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
you gotta
wait
choose.
till my next
You gotta
story.
go.
Yeah, my next.
First it was Superman, now it's Batman. All right, go ahead.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. So a cop stopped and asked what we were doing, where we were going, and if we had knives in our pockets, and then gave us a ride home. And so that was a great
You
experience.
murdered him and buried his body right next to Jimmy Hoffa's.
Well, I didn't say that,
That's true.
importantly.
Yeah.
So the in other situations that I've had with the cops, see I don't want to sound you fill in the word when you hear my story. I don't want to sound blank, okay?
Okay.
But
Crass.
I have had good luck. I've had good luck being calm and respecting cops and having my interactions
This is
with them
just
go
more like
well.
being on your high horse or tooting your own horn. You just use different terms for it every podcast episode. Where
There you
you ran
go.
out
There
of
you
one? Is
go.
that what the case was? You ran out of a good term? Because
Yeah.
usually you just say, I don't want to toot my own horn or I don't want to be on my high horse or.
No, I want to say that I don't want to be inconsiderate to people who have had very negative
Oh,
interactions
right.
with police
Well, as a
officers.
white person, to other white people, I would say you're fine. But yeah, we can't really know what racism is like for people to have to deal with that, with power, the power structure and all that stuff. So I get it. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yes, and but at the same time, so if I had, I'll say this, if I had behaved badly with a cop, I would expect my experiences to go worse, but I wouldn't have. But I think that regardless of how you behave, there's a certain set of standards where. So now we're getting onto the philosophy of cops and law enforcement
Yeah.
and other dynamics like race and things like that. But yeah, I just had good interactions, but I I think that there is some component of it, and it's not all of it, but I think there is some component that is related to what I've done. Um, but that's only one small ingredient. So that's all I can say about it.
Well, that was very helpful. The thing is here's what I think. I think it's important now. Granted, I do know that people are out there who have been treated differently by cops. So, obviously, we haven't really had to deal with that issue for the most part. But what I will say is, I try to think about the fact of like, I'm like, well, what do I have to deal with every day with stress and all that stuff? And so if I was a cop, not only would I have to deal with that all the day, but now I got to deal with my job, which is way more stressful than most jobs. It has one of the highest unlifing percentages of any other job and things like that. So I try to put myself in that perspective, and this is why I would never do the job because I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to qualm my emotions and not let my home life get in the way of my work life because now I've been able to do that with other things, but I do think that there are times where it comes out. And probably even with police officers. That's why they always have to be like if anytime a shooting happens, they have to be investigated, they have to take psych evals and all that stuff. And I understand all that. But I wouldn't be able to do that and it would just be tough to not be able to allow my emotions to control certain situations that shouldn't be controlled. So it definitely be a situation. So I gotta give them mad respect for the people that can do that and not let it, you know, get to them like that. Um, when I worked at the Philadelphia steak shop, I had a couple of cops that recognized me because I had quite a few police officers that would come in and get sandwiches. Um, and that was kind of cool because they were just kind of like I mean, one time I think I went into the center lane and then moved over to the right lane where which you're not supposed to do. And the one reason, and I just told them I did it because I randomly saw like a car coming that I didn't see before, so I had to wait. But a lot of them are like, and he was like, "Oh, I remember you. You make good sandwiches," and that was all the conversation was. And like they just kind of let you go. I had one almost like he kind of made a joke because I was walking to pay for my gas. I was trying to go into the gas station to pay for my gas, and he was coming through, and he stopped really fast, and he honked, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And then he's like, "I wouldn't want to hit you because you make good sandwiches," which was kind of a weird thing to say. I'm like, "Well, why'd you add the wouldn't want to hit you part?" Seemed unnecessary. But other than that, I've had handcuffs on. I had handcuffs on when I was in high school, but that was for a school project I was doing. So the liaison officer or whatever you call the school officer, I had him put handcuffs on me. And the only other times I had them on involved a potato. So that's all I'll say about that. But do you have you ever had handcuffs on you for anything? I mean, besides that stint that you did for, what weren't you like some famous serial killer, like on a highway or a river or something? You were named after a highway or a river, like your serial killer name. I can't remember it now, and we probably shouldn't tell too many details because you might still be on the most wanted list. But yeah,
Yeah, it was the Mississippi Massacre.
I like how you add. Yeah, that's
Because there's multiple
yeah,
ers.
I get it. Yeah, you're like every person that I murder, I add another cur.
Mhm.
So you're the
Yeah.
massacre,
It's like my version of teardrops,
yeah,
but I'm allergic to tattoos, so I gotta
yeah.
add ERs at the end of
Yeah,
my
I'm
words.
allergic to tattoos too. I get it.
Yeah, so besides that, I forgot if you had a question in there, but I do wanna say this. Law enforcement interactions, like, when I think about, like, how do I feel interacting with police?
It's a lot like
Um,
doctors, I do think though too. But I think I have more trust
yeah.
in them than I do a doctor. Because a law enforcement guy is not going to knock me out, and then an hour later I'm going to wake up and be like, "Oh, what happened?" He's be like, "Everything's good." It's like, well, oh, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're down in, one of those sand towns that start with the word sand.
okay. Like
Help me
San
out.
Antonio, San Jose,
There
San
you go.
Francisco, San
Boom.
Angeles. Oh wait, sorry,
Yep.
that was the wrong. But yeah,
San Diego.
yeah, San Diego.
Yeah. So, when I've got like the first couple times I got pulled over when I was younger, I was like, of course you're nervous because you don't know what's gonna happen. But now if I get pulled over, it's usually like I'm pretty sure. Um, like I said, like I've just trained myself to sort of have to operate myself in a way where it seems like it gives me the best possible interactions where like I know we shouldn't have to say this, but I do just think about de-escalation with every single thing that I do.
Yeah.
When I interact with a police officer, every single move that I make, every word that comes from my mouth is focused on de-escalation of the situation and increasing comfort. And that's really what it's about. But I become so confident in those interactions that I've had that I don't really get so nervous anymore if I do interact with a cop. So that's how I feel about
Do you
that.
ever ask them do you ever say, like, if they say, "Why did you know why I pulled you over?" Are you like, "Well, 'cause I thought maybe you were trying to sell some tickets to the policeman's ball." Do you ever say that?
The policeman's ball. No, I haven't said that. But I think we're gonna say tickets to the gun show. And
Well, usually the
it would have
cop
been
will
on
come
the
back and say, "Policemen don't have balls." And then they realize what they said, and then they just go and speed off, and they don't give you any tickets because they feel
and they
bad.
just cry into
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, I
their
said
steering
it. He
wheels.
made me say it." Yeah.
And then one day they're driving over an icy bridge and they take a sharp left off of
Yeah,
it
all
and
because they got screwed on that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's why it's important to de-escalate. See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not gonna do anything to make, anything worse. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
try to
Have
do
you
that.
seen have you seen those like TikToks and the videos where I love these where they're like, here's what you want to do with an officer, and the guy will have like he'll be like, you pull out your wallet like this, like, here you go. You pull out your wallet real fast.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, the
I'm
opposite thing
not
that you should do.
Yeah, because you wanna quickly show him that
You're
you
prepared.
respect him, so you're
Yeah.
giving him that wallet, really boom, there's the wallet right in his face,
Yeah.
and, let him know.
Wow.
By the way, it's a little puzzle. Have you seen these puzzles?
Oh, yeah.
I got it's a little light, though, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're seeing, like,
Yeah.
3D printed.
Excellent. Excellent.
Anyways.
All right. Yeah, I will say that about 20 years ago, I had a computer stolen out of my house, and this was crazy. And so I came back from work and I realized that my computer was stolen. I was with a friend and we were going to smoke some weed and we were going to play some game on the computer. I don't remember what it was, but it was gone and I was freaking out. And still never found out who stole it. Don't know, never got it back or anything like that. But that issue was kind of different because, first of all, like down there, I had like a lot of weed going on, and that was 20 years ago when it was not legal yet. Um, and so I was trying to make sure I didn't have any of that. So I was trying to like clean up a little bit around the area before they got there. Luckily, they took a long time to get out here. They took a couple hours. It had to take my stepdad at the time, who was kind of getting drunk at that time, because I got home from work at 9. This happened in the summer. I don't think they showed up until midnight. But he ended up calling back, and it was funny because in order to get them out there, he said, because he thought it was kind of bullshit that they were taking forever. And he's like, so he calls the police station, or maybe it was 911 or whatever. And he says, "Oh, hey, we found the people. We're gonna go get them right now." And the cop was out here within like 5 minutes. And my stepdad ended up being a little bit of a problem. The cop almost took him away because he was kind of a little tipsy by that point and was kind of mad. And I had to be the one to be like, whatever, whatever. But they never found out about that. Later on, I found I had a friend who lived with me until about a month before that. He didn't do anything. I know he didn't, but he worked at a pizza place with another guy. And right before he left, he had bought a brand new computer and he'd been talking about it at his work. So years later, this friend told me, he's like, "I'm pretty sure it was this guy that stole your computer because he thought that it was my brand new computer." And it was kind of a bad. Luckily, it was an old cheap like Dell that I think I had given to me, so I didn't really care that much. But it was kind of
Yeah.
I think the worst part about that situation, which I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit, was just like you're in your house and all of a sudden you have that thought of like, whoa, wait a minute. There were people in my house when I wasn't here that weren't supposed to be here, and that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
violating.
it's
Yeah.
very violating. It's a very weird scenario. So that was the only thing that was kind of weird to me. But yeah, that was kind of one of my other interactions that I had.
Yeah, I think I had like 70 or $80 in cash stolen from me one time from like a nightstand by where my bed was. And yeah, and I felt the same way where I didn't like the violation of like somebody
Somebody
had
came
gone
into
in
your
my
house and
room.
stole it? Or was it like a
Yeah.
party situation or like what was it?
No, it wasn't a party
Oh, okay.
situation. It was somewhere I was very young, I was a teenager, and I lived, with a friend,
Okay.
and it was a friend that I know he didn't steal it,
Right.
um, and his landlord was or the landlord that we had was basically his, stepdad, of the place, but there were other people that knew about the trailer. So it was just kind of like this trailer that was like halfway run down, but it was there, and it wasn't like an official rental. I don't know if he rented it to other people, but he rented it to us because we were just a couple of kids who like wanted to kind of live out on our own
Right.
and and have fun. And I was saving up money for studio time, and because I was in a band at that point, and I was just saving cash and just piling the cash like next to my bed,
Mm.
and I'd only gotten up to like 70 or $80, but there was one day I went in there and it was gone, and yeah, so that it was after that. I mean, it changed my outlook on like how I have to be with money.
Yeah.
You know, it like you just can't trust. You can't trust everybody. You can trust some people. You can't trust everybody, and your money, you know, it's better it's like how does the saying go? It's like an alcoholic shouldn't go into a bar and try to resist drinking.
Right.
And, so it's like, I understand that nobody should have been in my room taking money, but at the same time, I was like, I can't just like leave money floating out around on tops of like tables anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a
It is a
lesson for
weird
me
situation,
to
but yeah, like you said, or like we were talking about, it is almost the worst part about it is the violation. Like somebody was in here when they
yeah.
weren't supposed to be here, and that's a little scary because then you start thinking about other scenarios like, oh, what if they come in when I'm here, or what are they going to do, or whatever. But
Yeah, like what if they put like Kool-Aid on my eyeballs while I'm sleeping, you
right,
know,
that's a
or
big
something?
fear of yours,
Yeah, because you wake because first Kool-Aid powder, you know, that would dry your eyes out.
right?
That would take at least,
So
you know,
just the
24 to
powder,
48 hours. Yeah,
wouldn't it
just the
almost
powder, no
burn?
sugar.
Do you think it burned because Kool Aid powder by itself is probably more tart because you need the sugar to for the
Citric
yeah,
acid,
so it's
yeah,
gonna
because it's
burn.
full of
Yeah, it's probably gonna hurt. Make it look like
very
you have
acidic,
pink
yeah, so
eye
it's gonna burn.
or something.
Yeah, but when you cry, it'll be blue.
Mm, which for whatever reason you'd want that. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Let's talk about serious situations. We got a couple more situations to go through. Uh, Dramatic situations, sad situations, funerals and weddings, things like that. I think I'm good at giving life advice, bad at following my own advice, which I think a lot of people might say. I think there's a lot of people in that category where they're really good at giving advice to other people, but they're horrible at following it, to help themselves. Um, I also feel like I could have been a therapist. After having one of my own and reading what they make on average, by the way, they make bazooka money. I think that I could have been a therapist. I really do. But I don't know for sure. Maybe I'm just talking. But I've been I really do try to avoid funerals. I just don't like funerals. I don't It's such a somber place to be. I don't even really like weddings that much, but I was at my brother's wedding and then I was the best man, one of the best men, or maybe groomsmen or whatever you would call it at one of my friends' weddings, which was on a boat, which was kind of cool. But
Wedding on a boat.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, sad situations. I think if I'm trying to help somebody else who's in a sad situation, I think I'm fine. But if I'm the one in the sad situation, obviously it's a different story. But how do you feel about navigating all those types of situations, those serious situations?
Um, I'm actually fine being sad at a funeral,
Yeah. Well, that's
but
common.
I have a
Yeah.
harder
Yeah. You don't want to be
I
sitting
have a
there
harder
playing the
time.
bongos. Do 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 do.
No, I have a
In
harder
his
time.
breath. Do 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 do. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next song. You're not supposed to preview
Oh,
it
I'm
too early.
sorry. Penis breath part
I gave
two.
you a listen in
Yeah,
confidence.
I got you. My bad.
So
I'm so bad at
so
this.
No, I have an easy time being genuinely sad at a funeral
Right.
because the person that
Because it's genuinely
was
sad. You're
lost.
not gonna go to a stranger's funerals, I think, right?
No, but I've gone to funerals where I wasn't
Well, I
where I
got
wasn't
you.
feeling
Okay.
sadness. And those are the ones that I have a hard time with because I feel like as like an empathetic response, I ought to manufacture some sort of sadness or somberness for the sake of everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually the wrong play. Like I think the last few times that I found myself in that situation, I have found myself wishing that I had maybe been. Let me put it this way: I've never been to a funeral where I was the sad person and was mad that someone was happy.
Right. Right.
But I always think that if I
Gotcha.
emote any happiness at someone else's funeral, that they're gonna look at me like I don't belong there. But I think that in some sense, people don't. I think that's if you do it tastefully, of course. But I think that people actually want that. People want levity or a little bit of happiness. Like if you want to because I've struggled with this before talking to somebody where I know they had just lost somebody they had really cared about. And when I talk to them, it's like I'm the one who's tortured because I'm like, "Oh man, I bet
Yeah.
it's so hard for, like I'm so sorry,
Right. What do you do?
But
What do
I
you
don't think they
say?
want that.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, I think what they want is for me
to
to,
not even bring it up.
like
Like they almost just want, I think, a way,
to be normal.
an escape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you want to mention it out of respect, I think that's fine. But I think that you want to also be an escape. Hey, you know what? Like, oh man, did you hear that one band? They're coming out with they're coming out with another album.
Right.
Yeah. No, I've been watching this TV show lately, and you're talking about things that normal people talk about, and you're making jokes, and you're being your happy self. And if you can make them smile through that, that does way more than you being tortured as like some sort of, like I said, like trying to be empathetic to what you think they're going through.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's where I've actually gone down the wrong route before trying to deal with the funeral situation. But generally I don't like I think I do okay at funerals. I just recognize that it's just it's something um
About weddings.
it's something you got to go through. Weddings are actually it depends on the wedding. It depends why you're there.
Right.
But weddings I've done worse at because I feel like there's more of an expectation to be joyous and party.
Yeah.
And if I'm not feeling that way, then now I have some sort of the opposite issue where it's like I feel like I'm bringing people down. It's like I got to be happy.
Right.
Um,
Well, that's because you don't
so what
you
do?
got to go party with Vince
You drink
Vaughn
a
and
bunch.
Owen Wilson. That's why you go party with them,
Yeah,
and they're usually just,
and you just got to stand up and shout.
yeah, let it all
No,
out.
yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I also think that,
what about you? What about weddings?
well, I went to my brother's wedding and I went to my friend's wedding, like I said earlier. But no, um, I think that I I think that what you were saying about funeral, because this is what I think about funerals and weddings. It's like at a wedding, if you see somebody laughing like laughing is more contagious than crying. Does that make sense? Like if you see somebody else crying, you're not really going to automatically just start crying because you see them crying. But if you see somebody laughing, you're going to feel like kind of like amorous or joyous or whatever, and you might start getting into
Yeah.
that same mood too. So it is kind of an interesting like dynamic.
You know what? I gotta interject something because that's a really great point. Crying only makes you sad if you understand the story of why they're crying.
Right. Yeah.
Laughing,
It's universal
you don't
laughing.
have to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You don't have to even know why
It's
somebody's
such a
laughing.
joyous thing to
Just the
see. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have you don't need the story for you to also be amused.
Unless you
Yeah,
are
so that's really
laughing,
interesting.
unless it's a person laughing at a funeral because the person died, then you might not want to laugh with
Yeah,
them. Might be not the best
yeah,
time.
or you laugh so much that you cry
That's true. Yeah, because
too.
that's happened where your eyes
Yeah,
start getting watery and you're like, oh God, it's too much laughing.
yeah,
Yeah.
or you could be crying at a wedding. Um, those people. What do you think about those people?
Oh, the cry at a wedding. You know what? I
Yeah,
understand if it's like, okay, let's say it's like a parent and it's like their only kid or maybe it's not even their only kid. It's just their kid is getting married. Like, oh, you're like, Axel, get him
get
out.
them out,
If you
get
were
them
the
out of here,
usher
get
at
them
a
out of here.
wedding, I want to know how many people you
I
would
would
have
usher
removed.
Mom and dad are getting ushered to the
Gotcha.
back of the
Getting ushered out of
limo, and
here.
they're getting
Yeah,
driven.
and
They're getting
I was
driven off
the
the
usher of
waist.
my brother's wedding, but I wasn't like that. I didn't really take it that seriously. I was like, "What do I gotta do?" Like, "Sorry, these seats are for the family." Is that
You're
all
in
I have
seat
to do?
145A, and I'm so sorry, but you did not have an aisle seat.
Yeah.
We will need you to move down.
Yeah, or I think I got
Uh,
up in front of it and I was like, whoever's driving a Volkswagen Beetle, because those were big at the time, um, your lights are on," or something like that. I probably have to do that kinda thing. Any other serious
Now,
situations? Or you wanna keep talking about
um,
weddings, or
yeah, you were an usher at a wedding?
That was my brother's wedding, yeah. I don't really remember much of it. That was about 20 actually, it was about 25 years ago. My brother's gonna be celebrating his 25-year anniversary this year with his wife, of course.
I see. Did you do a lot of dancing?
No, and I didn't go to the reception. In fact, I've been to well, I went to my mom and my stepdad's wedding, but I was only 7 then, and I really don't remember any of that. But both the weddings I went to as adults, I didn't go to the receptions, and I feel bad, but that's also because of anxiety. Mainly because the first one wouldn't have been so bad because it was my brother, but I was 18. I was still in high school because he got married in April, so I was like 2 months away from graduating, and I was dating a
Yeah.
girl, and she went with me, and we just rather come home to an empty house while everybody was I don't need to get into the details, but, we'd rather do that than chill at the reception or whatever, because we were eating the, what's the thing you like to eat? The canned artichokes? Yeah,
Canned artichokes. Yeah.
we just really wanted to go home and eat some canned artichokes and watch
You
whatever
can
was on
watch
the
them too.
television because we didn't have streaming then, because that's what you did back in those days. But, and then I went to another friend's and his, I don't know a lot of people who get this reference, but he got married on the Nauticat. I'm sure you get that reference, which is
I
a
don't.
big boat that surveys, our beach, our lake around here that we have. And they go out and so they go out into like a certain area and they stop it and they have the ceremony on the boat. So that was kind of fun. Even though I'm not a big water guy. But but then, I don't know. But with that one there was a lot of people I wasn't gonna know at the reception or whatever. And so I was like, I don't know. So then my anxiety starts building up again. And, so that's why I didn't go to the receptions. But are there any other serious situations that you want to talk about or
Well, let's see. We talked about weddings. We talked about funerals.
yeah.
Um, Sometimes you get those at the same time. Family reunions, you know?
Yeah, and
Is
I
there
was gonna
something to talk
mention
about
those, but
there?
I was like such a kid. My big family reunions that I went to, I was like such a kid that I don't really remember much of it. It was more like aunts coming up being like, "Oh, you look at you, you're so big." Yeah,
Yeah.
it was weird.
Yeah.
That was it.
The cheek pinches. I most of the family reunions that I've been to have been on my father's side, and
Yeah, that was the
yeah, I
same
was
for
never
me. It was on
very
my father's side too. Obviously,
yeah, and I
because
was
we
never
didn't
that
go to a
comfortable.
family reunion and see each other on our mom's side,
Yeah, no, that's
which
true.
we're related through.
I've heard murmurs that there ought to be one, but
Yeah, but those are just
yeah, I don't know.
murmurs, and murmurs
Yeah,
have tails for legs. Or am I getting that confused with something else? The little
I think
murmur?
a murmur. I
Okay.
think a murmur is what's in your heart
Well, yeah, and that's not good
that they.
either. I think if you have a heart murmur,
Yeah,
that's not good either, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
and so maybe we do have murmurs. It
That's
depends on how you look at it.
yeah.
So, I never enjoyed family
No,
reunions.
I'm not down with
There's
them. If I wanted
the
to see
food.
those family members, I would see those family members.
Why does food at family reunions always smell like
It doesn't
it
smell the
always just smells like it's like neighbor's food. It always smells like neighbor food.
yeah. It
You know what I
smells
mean?
weird.
Um,
It's always like there's always like 5 different things of potato salad,
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
collaborated like enough
Why is
or
everybody why is that everyone's signature dish? Why
I
is it
don't know
gotta be
because
potato
I
salad?
don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I hate potato salad. I hate it. I will not eat it.
Ooh, that
I hate
it could
coleslaw
be hot.
too.
I don't think it's that hot. Well, I don't like coleslaw either. Yeah, coleslaw. Now, did you ever call it cold slaw?
Well, maybe when I was a kid, I don't remember though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought I used
Well,
to think it was a person. I was like, "Who's that?" They're like, "Who?" And I'm like,
coleslaw.
Coleslaw. Who's Coleslaw?"
Coleslaw sounds like a good one-word name for a wrestler.
It does. I do like
Yeah,
that.
coleslaw.
All right, we're getting off topic again. All right, let's jump into the to our last thing. It's been a long episode. Uh, let's talk about video conferences as our last social situation. I've never done a video conference, so this is really going to be more of a question for you because I'm sure, like, if I was on a Zoom call or something with a bunch of people that I knew that were my friends, that'd be fine, you know. But you do them a lot, I know, for your work. And I'm
Yeah,
interested to know your dynamic with that and what kind of social situations, maybe some awkwardness that you've had to endure that way. Do you wear pants? Do you not wear pants? Do you forget that you're not wearing pants and get up? Like, is there any of
I
those
wear
scenarios?
sure, let me go ahead and launch into it, Sir Matt, and I'll tell you how it
Thank
goes.
you. Thank you for
I wear my
knighting
pant
me, by the
pajamas.
way. That was great.
Yeah, well, I do that to people. I wanna lift everybody up around me,
Yeah.
so a very
Well, the
generous
queen
guy,
had
I've
to
been
kick you out
told.
because you wanted to knight everybody, which is different than mounting, just so people know.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is what they do
uh,
in Canada.
but a lot of nights are mounted.
That is true, yeah.
So, what I have to say is this, and I'm not stalling as I talk slowly.
I didn't think you were.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about video conferences.
Video conferences I do for my job.
Right.
Yes, I work remotely.
Yes, you do. In
And
Antarctica.
the yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I wish, but I don't wish
Right,
actually.
right.
I would like to
Maybe
visit.
for a
Um,
minute, like for a week would be okay, but not forever, for a long time.
I the largest conferences that I will do for my job will be like maybe up to 10 people. There have been a little bit more than that. On average, on a daily basis, it's usually between 3 to 5, maybe 6 people.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
And you get used to it, but there is a certain amount of fakery and pretentiousness that comes along with it. It's also a little bit I we have a culture where we are a camera on culture. And what that means is because there's some jobs where the conferencing actually you'll just do it by voice. You don't necessarily have to have your camera on. But at my particular job, it's very common to have the camera on. So, so you're sitting at home, you woke up an hour ago, you have bedhead, you're in pajamas and but you flick your camera on, which means you got to do a couple things beforehand and you have to make sure you look like a person who is worth the amount of money the job has decided they're going to pay you.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and but it's not too bad. You get used to it and you get used to the people you're talking to. But there is something about it that always feels like there's a barrier between there's a barrier to genuine human connection and the kind you get when you either talk to somebody in person or like how we're talking where it's me and it's you, just one person. I think video conferencing can work when it's just two people. But the more
Definitely,
you get,
yeah.
the more you add, the more you get, especially in a work
We're doing it for
environment.
fun though too in a kinda way, you know? We're
Yeah.
just kinda, you know, passing the time. Because when you do that, we're not out there committing crimes, you know?
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I saw a really great tip video the other day where somebody said when you're in these work conference like video meetings that you should start further back from the camera and I don't know if I can do it here, but imagine I'm starting further back, right? And then when the stream starts, then you come into you come into focus, as somebody might say, but or just come into frame.
Right.
And what that's supposed to
I
do
usually
is
come into
be more natural
box.
because this again.
No, I'm just saying the frame looks like a box. It's like a square. Yeah.
It's okay. It's also a rectangle, right?
Yeah, aren't they the same? Yeah, like a square, a rectangle. A square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square.
There it is.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it.
All right. Well, I think it was a good episode, a good part two episode of the social situations. I think it's great that we, talked about and looked at all these for all these awkward people out there that may have had any issue or any situations that they've had. You could share them if you are listening to our podcast. Go ahead and share us your thoughts about any social situations, maybe awkward or not, that you've had. It'd be great to maybe read them on the pod or something like that. It's been a great episode. And so until next week, I'm Matt. He's Brandon. Have a good time.
Bye.